This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 824 for the week of Monday, July 1st, 2024. My name is Ed.
My name is Steve.
And my name is Alex.
And joining us this week, first we have our very special guest, the translator for One Piece and Weekly Shonen Jump and Manga Plus, Stephen Paul is here.
Hello, hello.
And also joining us this week, we have Krystal Shanelle, host of the Between the Storylines podcast, and first-time guest of the One Piece podcast. So we usually like to start off with our first-time guests with sort of asking them about their One Piece origin story. How did they get into the series? And a few questions about, what their sort of favorites are. And so just to start off with, when did you first get into One Piece?
So first time was during the pandemic. It was definitely one of those no, I'll never watch it. 1,000 what? No, not me. Could never be. And then I don't know what it was that sparked me one day, but I was like, look. And so I turned it on and, here I am today. One of the biggest enthusiasts I could be.
Fantastic. Everyone had time at the beginning of the pandemic. So what else were you going to do?
Exactly.
Yeah. What is your favorite Straw Hat character?
My favorite Straw Hat is definitely Luffy, but after Luffy, it would probably be Usopp. In the beginning, I did not like Usopp. I was not rocking with him at all. Mainly around Water 7. I was like, oh my gosh. No, not Water 7. Oh my gosh, before that. And then kind of like Water 7-ish time period and Skypiea. I was like, he's actually kind of funny. He's a cool guy. And then he became my second favorite.
Nice. Yeah, he really gets time to shine during that Water 7. I think also during Thriller Bark as well. A lot of people like that fight that he has with Perona.
Yeah,
just
100%.
Taking advantage of his personality. Next one is, who is your favorite non-villain, non-Straw Hat character?
Non-villain, non-Straw Hat. Oh my gosh. Maybe. Dang. I was not. I don't think this far out of it. I want to say Ace, but I feel like Ace isn't the best answer I could think of right now. Oh. No, he's a Straw Hat. Nope, I don't know. I don't know. I try to really think.
You can go with Ace.
Yeah,
Ace that comes to your head.
I rock with Ace, but he doesn't let me not say that. I was gonna say he doesn't tear at my heartstrings like the other characters do, but I still like him. I think I really liked him more during Wano with the flashbacks with Yamato. I was like, he's cool. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy that I'm saying.
He definitely becomes more of a character the further we get away from him, existing in the mortal plane.
And that's so crazy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people pick Law or Kid for that answer, but Ace is the original cool guy of One Piece. Everyone loves him. He's everyone's cool older brother. All right, and next, what's your favorite villain in One Piece? Take that as you like. Most hated or most beloved, either way.
Dang, I think my favorite villain, not even because I like Doflamingo, but only because I like his story, and not even like I just think his story is so interesting because it just makes so much sense. And then seeing kind of the flip side of his brother, I'm just like, it's just him in general is just interesting to me. So I like his character. So Doflamingo, I would say.
Right on. And favorite story arc?
Oh, Skypiea.
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah. Here we go.
Steven.
Yeah.
Activated, yeah.
Skypiea easily.
Now, were you primarily a manga reader, or did you watch the anime when you first got into the series?
I was first an anime watcher, and then I got to Whole Cake, and I said, absolutely not. I'm not doing it. And I had to pick up the manga. I even think of the Fisherman arc. I was kind of teetering. I was like, how long am I going to be able to last? And then Whole Cake, I said, I'm picking this manga up and reading it. And it's been cool. So now I'll read it. And then if there's any parts where I'm like, oh my God, I bet this is so cool animated, I'll watch it.
And that's actually something that the anime has been, I think, excelling in since Wano, of putting set piece, major Sakuga animation moments in, at least in significant episodes. They're not in every episode, but every few episodes you get to watch something ridiculous. let's see. Now, since you watched mostly through the anime from the beginning, do you have a favorite opening or ending theme song, or did you skip through them?
I would say there is one, I don't know the name of it at all. I can see the video in my head, but I don't know the name of it. But I will say the Egghead opening, banger. And the animation, banger. I almost picked up the anime again. I was like, this is so fire. Oh my God. I love the art style too.
Nice.
Now, how do we verbally refer to this opening as? Or we just say,
us.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, it's really good.
It's so good.
Right on. Cool. So thank you for coming on the show today, and we'll get into the manga recap with you in just a second. But first, we have a couple of announcements, or the same usual announcements that we've been making the last few episodes. We have our next show at the City Winery in New York on August 25th. It's coming up. That's the Sunday of Anime NYC weekend. It's a completely separate event. Tickets from citywinerynyc.com. So check that out and come see us live and in person. We might even have some merch, even though we got rid of it, most of it, the last show we did.
Swag.
Yeah. And we've brought editorial articles back to the OnePiecePodcast.com. Kirsten Carey, who is also responsible for composing the music that opens the show, has written a new editorial sort of about the end of One Piece and what that could mean, what Oda thinks it means. So you want to check that out. So coming up on the show, we have a manga recap for chapter 1119, Emet, and an anime recap for episode 1110 with director Henry Thurlow. So he'll be joining us for the anime recap later on with Sam. And that is it's called Survive Deadly Combat with the Strongest Form of Humanity. And then we'll get into as much piece together as we have time for. And then we'll round off the show. But why don't we just get right into the manga recap? There's a lot to talk about this week.
Hi, I'm Steve Yurko.
And I'm Tara Sands. Now available from Maji Media is our new podcast, 4Kids Flashback. 4Kids is the company who brought you the English dub of Pokemon in the late 90s and so many other shows like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Shaman King, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kirby, the infamous One Piece dub, and so many more.
We'll be talking to the people who worked at 4Kids. Actors, directors, writers, editors, producers, engineers, you get the point. And hopefully get the answers to questions both you and I have about the company.
I actually worked there as a voice actor on some of the shows.
And I was a kid watching the shows and remember way more than Tara does.
And thank God for that. Steve is actually a professional storyboard artist, which gives some really unique insights into anime and animation. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts. That's the number 4Kids Flashback. Every week since 2009, the One Piece podcast has discussed and analyzed the latest installments of the hit anime and manga series, One Piece. Now you can see the podcast crew live and in person in New York City. It's a chance to see your favorite podcast up close and potentially win some free swag. Check out the One Piece podcast at City Winery in New York City on Sunday, August 25th at 7 p.m. Just go to onepiecepodcast.com to get your tickets today. Again, that's Sunday, August 25th at 7 p.m. at City Winery in New York City.
This is the manga recap for chapter 1119, Emet. And
Emet!
On the cover we have Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage. Whew, that's a mouthful. Volume 9, Kibi, Pelted with Rocks by Children Who Hate Kaido. You really should have seen that coming, Yamato. Bro.
Stay out of Riverdale. If this is shown in the anime, will they replace the rocks with tomatoes? Or did they stop doing that? Remember they did that in Robin's flashback?
Oh, was that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, poor girl had rocks thrown at her head, and then the anime is like, this is too replicable, I guess.
Yeah.
You need to tone it down a little.
Yeah. We draw the line at children being able to... Yeah, keep it down.
It is interesting, though, that like Oda, it's kind of the same thing that he did with that the little story about how Tama still has to like remain incognito, that she can't be, or I don't even think she knows what her family name is, but the whole thing about how like, yeah, the people the people aren't really going to understand or necessarily have forgiveness. I mean, these are just kids, obviously, so like they don't necessarily know any better, but it's notable that Oda is kind of like, hey, here's Wano, here's like the Japan land, and even after like the problem has seemingly been solved, like the lasting memories don't really go away. They don't realize that Yamato is a good character, a good-hearted character, and they're still willing to kind of commit sins toward their fellow citizen of the realm and stuff.
Yeah, it's not like the quick wrap it up ending where it's like, oh, as soon as you destroy the main monster, all the other
the vampires
just fall on the ground. Yeah, kill the main vampire. Sorry, I realize that's where it originally comes from. Yeah, it's like, not everything's all like hunky dory as soon as you defeat Kaido. There's fallout. There's.
It's not like there's mass media or the Shogun can go on television and say, Yamato's our friend now. What do you
Pardon, please.
Yeah. Be nice to them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Kibi still looks like shit here. Like they still have factories and everything. So
yeah,
it's gonna take a while.
Those down. Back in the Labo phase, we hear Big Nerd say, "Just go, Stussy. You said you know what I'll do next, didn't you? You think we're friends? Don't make me laugh. A cold-blooded colleague whom I respect, maybe. But once Lucci gets here, I won't be able to stop him." And Stussy and Kaku are both very affected by this, and Stussy's like, "Kaku, just go!" He yells at her, and we can kind of hear her running away in the background there. The sounds of her footsteps leaving, while Kaku frowns even bigger than he did when we drew him baby girl style a few weeks ago. Yeah,
get going, you dumb animal!
Get out of here!
What's that movie again?
White Fang. He's White Fanging her.
White Fang? Oh, no, I thought
White
it was...
Fang.
Steve's thinking of Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah, Harry and the Hendersons. What the hell are you talking about?
That's similar.
Stussy and the Hendersons, yeah. Go on, get!
We need Dr. Heroic with his rifle.
Yeah, shoot. That was the original, yeah.
Okay. So back at the coastline there with the multiple Joy Boys, and Luffy and Bonnie are hopping around up in the sky there, having a good old time. Yeah, now I'm having fun. And the Marines are like, "That's the same face as on Straw Hat Luffy's poster." And the Giants are just loving it. They're the Nika, yeah, woo! And there's two Nikas. This is the Marcus Marsbird talking here. That's just an illusion of the age fruit. Know your place. And he unleashes a giant mouth laser or mouth fire, I suppose, a la Cell. And Luffy's like, "Listen up, boys. You can't hurt these guys by ripping them up or crushing them." And he continues.
So then, I don't even know, actually. So it's Luffy, Big Balloon Luffy, right? And he says, "So I want you," and then he gets hit. He's like, "Oh my God, my body, to wail on me as hard as you can." And then Sanji's like, "What? So there's like no other way to do this?" And Frankie's like, "Man, I'm sorry, you said like whatever, bro. I got you." Well, that's not what he says. He says, "As hard as we can, say no more." And then Bonnie's freaking out. She's like, "You want us to do what? You want me to punch you?" I'm not saying this word for word. I'm so sorry. She says, "You want me to punch you? Why?" And her face is like, that face they do when they're like super surprised. Her eyes aren't bulging out of her head though, but she's very, very surprised. We have the Giants saying, "Help us out here, do something about the bird, put out the flame so we can sail, stop dancing around, you idiots." And everyone's like,
It's what someone says in the department store when a bird gets in.
"Please do something. Stop standing around." And then they're like, "You were doing it too." So, okay, then we have an attack. And Luffy's grabbing onto the wings. And he says, "Hurry while I've got a hold on him." And then Sanji starts, revving up. And he says, "Captain Order, Bonnie." And then, I don't know how to pronounce this. Oh, my gosh. Ifrit Jambe Hell. Is that right, Steve?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And then Frankie starts, with the strong impact. Bonnie's revving up. Oh, she's got the huge rock kind of boom going on. But she says, "Here goes," and then supersize Nika, and then what did it say? Memory's right punch, and they all essentially hit Luffy as he's a balloon, which then does something really cool. But that's not what I'm gonna say. And then he's like, "Oh my god!" And that's where we are.
You can see Luffy's eyes bugging out.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times there.
Mm.
He's like, Jesus, I didn't mean that hard, Jesus.
I love how burnt he is. That his white hair has turned is singed all black now.
Oh yeah,
he's still in Gear 5, but he's burnt.
Yeah, that illustrator actually kind of looks crazy.
Actually, I don't know. That might be a mistake on that top panel because it's white again at the bottom. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
and on the previous page, when he's getting burned. Interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see. I wish I could think of any other movie to reference other than Fight Club where I say, I want you to hit me as hard as you can. I just imagine them just getting hit and like, ow!
Yeah, well, a lot of people
doing
seem to view Gear 5 Luffy as Tyler Durden, and they're drawing the same wrong lessons from One Piece as they are from Fight Club. So
the problem is, oh God, here I go. They're treating it like it's Super Saiyan, and
it's not Super Saiyan.
The same. Well, I mean, Toei might beg to differ.
Well, it's Luffy, but he's more fun. Goku has no sense of humor in Super Saiyan. Or at least
depending on the direction, sometimes Gear 5 in the anime looks like the love child of Super Saiyan and Warsman from Kinnikuman. Got that scary red face.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bonnie's like, "What? We're hurting you? It hurts."
People hurt when they are punched.
When you said you didn't want to make this movie reference, I thought you were going to say Pee-wee's Big Adventure because she is doing the large Marge, the bug out eyes and the tongue and everything.
Man, I have not watched that movie enough, though I did watch it last year. Sorry. I'll do better next time. I'll pick something less edgelordy. And Luffy yells, "Yeah, it does hurt." No, he yells. And
he screams.
Is Marge getting hit?
He's getting pushed,
ballooned,
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Balloon to the face.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because he's in there.
Mm-hmm.
But Luffy's like, "Well, yeah. Of course, it's gonna hurt if you use hockey." But he continues, says gum, and it's crazy because I get Bonnie must be huge. Bonnie and Luffy must be huge because I get Frankie and Sanji lost in this action here.
Oh,
I
dang.
could barely see Frankie below.
I can see his
here.
square arm, and
That's how I could tell.
I
Yeah,
think
have
I
no
can
idea
make
what
out
Sanji
Sanji right above Bonnie's hit.
Oh yeah,
I think that
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
that
okay.
could possibly be Sanji with his leg out.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, because the fire's on that side.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Guys.
Oh yeah. Sorry, that does make sense.
Guys, a bee bit my bunny, and now my bunny is big.
Anyway, Sanji's like, "Keep that pressure on, Bonnie," and Frankie's yelling, "Push him like you're trying to squeeze the life from his lungs."
Dude, he's so happy that he gets to do something in this arc.
Yeah, they're so excited about this.
Finally.
Is this another week where Steve says Frankie is criminally underutilized in Egghead?
I think it's
true.
just the general consensus.
Yeah.
So it's fact.
Frankie's Frankie's gonna turn into the really cringy friend who comments on one of your photos on social media. Is like, "You got to hang out with blankety blank."
Oh my
Oh,
god.
I wish I got to hang out with blankety blank. And it's like, don't say that out loud in public, please. Dick Rider. Anyway.
That reminds me of what's that one where I forgot the movie where it's like, you guys are getting paid. It's like, you guys got to fight. Oh my god.
Oh, that's We're the Millers.
Yeah, that reminds me.
Yeah.
You guys got to fight. Oh my
Oh.
god.
You guys are getting paid?
We got a really funny text from my father-in-law a couple months ago, which was, "I've sunk to a new low. I'm watching a movie called The Millers," and I just think it's very funny.
That's his idea of sinking low.
Yeah, it's very funny. It sort of like reminds me of the time that he was talking about how vulgar Joe Pesci is, and then he goes, "Well, he's nothing compared to Brad Garrett." And I thought that was one of the funniest.
Brad Garrett say "damn" once on Everybody Loves Raymond.
Well, I mean, like when you compare the amount of times that Joe Pesci says the word "fuck" in Casino alone, to I don't know, maybe Brad Garrett has a pretty spicy stand-up special. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
So anyway, Bonnie does another big face fault. The wavy tongue, the eyes popping out. Bonnie's like, "What's wrong with you people?" And Luffy is gritting his teeth, struggling. He's like, "Nyeh." And from what I can make out here, this is Mars squished up against Luffy's big belly, and he gets rocketed away with a dawn balloon. Think of one of Buggy's buggy balls, from the olden days. And Mars is that buggy ball getting flung away by the bounce of the dawn balloon. Sorry, we really talked a lot during that spread that I thought would go by quick.
The zoosh.
Yeah, like it. I feel like the sound should actually be like in the cartoon, like in the anime. What it should be is like that dodgeball bouncing sound, like that's
yeah.
Yeah, because that's kind of. I mean, I'm assuming that's kind of the property that they're going for here. But I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. Like this whole sequence, while it's funny, I don't really get it as like this is the way to get rid of this guy, sort of thing.
I agree.
Of like, Luffy
very silly.
Gets big, and then I guess he needs to be in order to like push him away. But
I guess I don't see why Bonnie, Sanji, and Frankie are like. Why do they have to punch?
Yeah,
Luffy doesn't have enough power to do it himself.
Exactly. I think that like I'm trying to figure out the way this works as far as gravity goes, and like it would make sense if Luffy's pushing it. Like what they need to do is they need to hit Mars, like further into Luffy, right? Or maybe Luffy needs some sort of a like. I don't know.
It kind of reminds me of,
rock and hard place thing.
Like if you're at the lake and those like huge balloons and like someone's in it and then like someone jumps on it and it like throws them into the air. It reminds me of that, except
that's a good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Like from the movie Heavyweights.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until Lars comes in and just pokes a hole through Luffy with him.
What a stupid idea.
All right.
I was almost going to fantasy book it, and I'm like, it would have been funny just to see Luffy kind of just turn Mars into like a little paper airplane. And
that would be hilarious.
More of that.
And on the next page, with a little twinkle, Mars is blasted off again. He's gone. I guess that's ultimately the takeaway is yes, it is some cartoon nonsense to get rid of someone, get him out of the scene. That's ultimately what they're doing. And he's like shooting through the clouds. And Luffy is going, yeah, it's gone and it can't come back, which I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but
counting your chickens before they hatch, isn't it, Luffy?
Yeah, it could be, or it could just be like, okay, well, if this is Oda telling us like, okay, this guy's gone for now, like we don't have to worry about him because somebody said it. So I don't know. But they're back on the Viking, the giant ship here, and they're like, "Let's get going, people!" And they're all getting ready for action. And Luffy wonders where Usopp's group is, where the rest of the crew is, and Sanji says they should be coming down any second now, but they're late. Something's going on that the ship is not coming down to the water. Atlas volunteers to go and see. And Sanji's like, what? No, Atlas. But Atlas is rushing off, and she's thinking, York is monitoring us. Lilith, we should... And she's thinking something. I'm not sure if she's talking. She might be communicating with Lilith somehow. I don't know if they have... I forget if we've seen them like doing internal robot
I'm pretty sure
communication.
I'm pretty sure
they have built-in comms. Like it's not like telepathy like with the elders.
Right. But yeah, Alice has some kind of plan, I think. And meanwhile, we go down to the bottom of the water here, where we see the Iron Giant, and is glubbing and blubbing. The air bubbles are escaping, and we hear a little fragment of Vegapunk's message. But actually, and then we see inside the giant, presumably, we see the snail, the big pyramid snail here, who is waking up. I guess it got knocked out for a second. With all of the crashing and the impact from Mercury, but now he's waking back up, and it seems like the message is returning. And Vega, we hear the message. It's kind of coming in and out. So he says, "But actually," and then it comes back, and nothing of the sort. And we cut to Whole Cake Island, where we see a number of familiar silhouettes here. We got let's see, on the right, that is Charlotte Brownie with his weird little top hat. Mm-hmm. And then of course, standing tall here, literally, is Katakuri. He is watching. Presumably he is the one in charge here, I guess, since he is the oldest. And I'm not sure, is that supposed to be Brûlé?
I think it's Galette.
Yeah.
Or Galette.
Galette.
One of the daughters for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
but
yeah,
most
and
importantly,
most importantly, Charlotte Moscato, Minister of Gelato,
who did not die.
He did not die. That's right.
Much like Tiny Tim, who did not die.
Yeah.
I misremembered something because Moscato shows up towards the end of Whole Cake, and we thought it was a mistake, and I think someone wrote in SBS, and I misremembered. I thought Oda said, like, "Oh no, that's not Moscato, that's his brother, Nuscato or something." And I had to look it up real quick. I'm like checking the wiki to see, and no, that's Moscato, but Moscato does have siblings, two that I don't recall at all. I'm just like, who the hell is Mash?
Well,
Mash
it's
and cornstarch.
It's what Sabin from Final Fantasy VI is known as in Japan.
Oh.
Yeah,
just saying, like, with all this heat, this is what I'm up to my knees in.
Well,
that's too obtuse of a Simpsons reference. I'm sorry.
I can definitely tell you that, like, the other half or more of the siblings that didn't get named in the manga, they all got named in the anime, and so because I remember we had to do a lot of like not double checking, but like a sort of like, okay, what should this character's name be spelled? Like Toei was sending us back a bunch of materials, like, hey, can you give us names for all these characters? So I don't remember this detail, but I do like his like ice cream cone hilt on his sword. That's cool.
It's pretty great.
In keeping with his really, really cool looking character. And the crowd is like, "Oh, hey, it's back on. Vegapunk's back." as Steve let us in last week. Yes, and Vegapunk's message is continuing, which you might consider a will inherited through the years. Interesting note there, inherited will. Little fun little keyword there. And this guy here, who definitely has not read the manga, is like, "What's he talking about?" And we see Vivi and Morgan's. They're over at the headquarters, and they're like, "Oh, it's back. The picture is fixed." And here's some other location. I don't know if we have enough details to identify where this is.
No,
but they're.
No, I can't.
Yeah, they're wondering, was there a problem with the transmission? And now York is realizing, there was only a temporary break in the mental waves. And she explains the transmission snail's memory and mental waves work on separate circuits. You have to actually destroy it directly, elders. All they did was jostle it. They didn't knock it out. And Vegapunk's kind of broken up message continues. Can only pray that those at the mercy of this reason will be able to hear this message. And speaking of here, I'm not sure if they're actually hearing this or not. I would assume so, but yeah, we have Gaimon and Sarfunkel, his girlfriend there.
Yay.
Hanging out in their boxes and barrels.
With their rabbit snake friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I would assume... I mean, I just would have assumed they would have no idea of this, like, transmission and everything, because he's just on a deserted island. Like, there's nothing there but those animals.
Oda's like, I've got nothing else. The only characters I can draw left are,
That's right.
are Gaimon and Sarfunkel. I've drawn everyone else in the last 5 chapters.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, that's what, like, you and Greg have been talking about this on the SGS, Stephen, about how, like, this is almost intentional. That everybody's sort of got to be on board for whatever's going to be coming for the final battle. I do like that a lot.
You're up, Alex.
Okay. Well, here we have the sandworm, Monstro. What's his face? Which one's the sandworm?
Oh God, I always forget that one.
Jupiter.
That's Jupiter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jupiter. We hear here it comes, watch out for the suction, as
you skipped the page, Alex.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh yes, I did. I'm sorry, I have it I have it zoomed in so I can see everything. Suddenly Luffy's attention is directed upwards. Huh? What the? And it's raining debris. Whoa, is that rain or bombs? Neither, say the Marines. And normally we would expect a giant ship to be falling from the sky in this case. But no, this time it's much less fun. It's Cypher Paul and a bunch of rubble. Why are they coming out of the sky? Catch them or they'll die on impact. I'm glad that was brought up because that would have been, God, that'd be so horrifying just to see. And the Seraphim are coming down too in their little bubbles. I don't think they need to be caught. They're probably fine. They noticed it was that monster. It spit them all out. So yeah, it looks like Jupiter has gone from suck to blow.
But Jupiter, you said yours was full. Oh, jeez.
Still wait for Thin Mint.
Had a wafer Thin Mint. I feel like we always dip into the same well whenever there's some sort of spewing action happening in the manga recap. Luffy can't get enough of it though. It looks like a fountain. Yeah, Luffy, like me, cannot get enough of whenever somebody fake pukes in a movie where they clearly have a hose right next to their mouth. Rogi says, "They're coming this way. We need more distance." And then we see Jupiter sees them and acknowledges them and starts sucking them up. Here it comes! Watch out for the suction. Now we're going backwards. It's on backwards. Furl the sails. Use the oars. And Luffy ever ready for big punchies unleashes one with a bwhomp. Socks Jupiter right in the face, effectively stopping the suction at all costs. Go, Nika, go! We hear the giants. Vice Admiral Dahl is still pretty pissed off as a child, and we hear the Marines in the background say, "White giants, monsters, cipher pull from the sky. Is this all a bad dream?" And then we get a nice shot of Boar Curie schnorking.
I thought we called him Porcurie.
Porcurie.
That's good too.
I do like that.
And on the final spread, yes, while Luffy is occupied, we can see he's throwing another punch at the sandworm over there. He's like, "Oh shoot, there goes the boar! Watch out!" As Workery is rushing past, and with a big doom. And Luffy's like, he's really, really sturdy. So I guess this is kind of just demonstrating that, like, yeah, Luffy can punch some of them, but Workery in particular seems to be just like immune to blows. Like he's just too sturdy. He's too thick. The Giant's Brogy is there. He's going, look out for him. He'll smash the ship to pieces. We got to flee. And there's a really cool sort of sideways shot here where we can see Workery kind of like he's like the Red Bull or something, just jumping over the waves with all of his tusks. And he's about the size of the ship, it seems like.
Yeah.
And you got a bunch of little... the little Navy ships are just like flying up off the water with all the action going on. And Sanji catches Bonnie, who is back to her little child form, and she's got little X's for eyes. And she's just like, I can't. Freedom is tiring. So, not too surprising to me that she was good for one big attack, which helped get rid of Marcus Mars, but that's about all she can handle. And then we get this little quick succession here where we see little slices of stuff going on. There's a dark silhouette underwater blubbing up, which seems to be the Iron Giant, and we hear a voice say, Joy Boy. And this seems to catch Luffy's attention. He's like, as he looks down, and the giants are shouting. They're panicking about the boar coming to smash their ship, and all of a sudden they're boom, like coming up out of the water. Spoosh is the Iron Giant, and we get a nice big panel of him just clobbering Workery and breaking one of his tusks, which is boy, how many times have we seen that? How many broken horns do we have now? What's the counter at?
When will it stop? Won't somebody think of the horns?
Please.
Yeah, and then we have this little, seemingly a flashback where someone is saying, "Remember, Emet, only when the time is right." And there's a big kind of messy looking panel. I think this is like from behind the ship. We can see the giant in the middle. And then in the background is the giant boar, which is kind of crashing into the waves there after being smashed away. And the robot is thinking, time is right. So maybe that's what he's thinking this is, that this is why the time was right to act. Or maybe it's some other reason. But we see Dory and Brogy. They're freaking out too. They're doing the eyeball gag. What the heck is that? And Luffy is beside himself. He's crying. He's got the telltale sparkles in his eyes as he goes, Robo! So excited to see it, as we all are.
Robobo.
Oh, now he's got a name. It's Emet.
So
yeah. I should talk about that for a second.
Yeah. I mean, I have a little Hebrew lesson. If you want to go first, and then I'll mention it.
Well, I was going to say that, Emet, certainly based on context, would seem to be the name of the robot that whoever was saying this, possibly Joy Boy, that would be the first guess, from some very distant past memory. Emet is a word. I didn't recognize it initially just on first glance, but once I started looking into it, I was quickly like, wait a second, this is probably that thing that the telltale word of truth from the story of the golem from Jewish folklore, which is, of course, the golem being the giant of clay that was animated, is kind of a precursor to the story of Frankenstein's monster and such. And if you remember that, if you ever heard the story, it's that it is animated by the word for truth, which is Emet. And it is, I think it depends. I mean, some say it's on the forehead, or some say it's like written on a piece of parchment. I guess it depends on like which version of the story you're reading. But the way to shut it down is that if you erase the first letter from Emet, then it becomes Met, which means death.
Yes.
And then that shuts down that's how the golem is stopped on its rampage in the story. It just on a side note too, there's depending on like which source you go to, sometimes it's Emet, sometimes it's Emeth with an H at the end. And that's just kind of a difference in like transliteration or romanization standards going from Hebrew into the English alphabet. And from what I could tell, I'm not an expert on this, but from what I could tell, it seems like there's a bunch of different sort of standards that you can use, and like if you go on Wikipedia, there's a giant table that has like all of the different versions of each letter in Hebrew, and the one that ends Emet, the word for truth, there's like one single version that has that spells it TH, but all the other ones use just T. And so like if you look it up on Wiktionary and all of their standards, they all say EMET. And on top of that, it is not pronounced with it's not pronounced like the. It is, the H is silent. It's not pronounced. So it is just Emet. And you'll hear that when whenever this gets animated, you'll hear the voice actor, the Seiyu, it will be Emeto. That's how it's pronounced in Japanese. So I went with the EMET since that seems to be like the standard version. But some versions of like the tale of the golem, if you look in books of folklore and stuff, some of them will say EMETH. So if you see any discrepancy, that's kind of what that's about. Mm-hmm. That's my little lesson there.
Yeah, and it's interesting with the golem because golems are extremely strong, kind of simple creatures who can be destroyers or protectors, and they're not necessarily capable of being controlled. You might have to trick it into being able to deactivate it. So it's this powerful sort of entity that can be deployed, but can you really have control of it? So it poses an interesting problem for the series going forward. But yeah, let's get everyone's final thoughts on the chapter. Start with Krystal.
So when I was first reading, I didn't think it was funny, but I thought it was interesting how Kaku was like with his relationship with Stussy, because then I was thinking, weren't you also kind of an undercover agent? Also, I know that's your job, but like all for the love of the game in Water 7, and you were kind of doing the same thing. I was just like, this is interesting how it happened back to you. I thought that was not funny, but like
Kaku's response would be like, yeah, but we're the good guys.
right. So I thought that was interesting. And I liked when they had to punch Luffy. I thought that was funny. Because Bonnie was like, oh, what do you guys really do? Like, what team is this? What sad. So I thought that was cool. And I'm interested to see if we get more about Emet, and hearing more about him. I hope they talk about why he attacked. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce that place. Mary Dios or something like that. Yeah. So
Mary Jo.
Yeah. So I wonder if they're gonna talk about any of that.
Like, we've seen that like there has to be a Joy Boy or some kind of person around to activate it. Like it draws on that power. Mm-hmm. So what turned it on 200 years ago? We don't know.
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah, Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, when I saw that was going to be a short chapter again, I was like, oh no. But yeah, it was packed. It wasn't quite as packed as last week's. But some fun art. We talked a little bit about how Luffy's attack makes sense. But it was pretty fun to see Marcus Mars get yeeted.
Team Rocket style.
I need the biggest bird cage you have. No, that's too big. Let's see here. Yeah, I think it's really funny that the transmission basically yada yada over the Will of D section.
Bro, oh my god.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, really? Okay, I guess.
But it's like, not yet.
You can't yada yada the Will of D.
I mean, Vegapunk tried to, but the elders weren't having it. I was kind of all in on at least one of the Vegapunks making it to Elbaf with them, but looks like they're all going to stay behind and die. Maybe. I mean, I think that's it. That might be it for the Vegapunks. Let's see. Luffy getting some hits on the elders is really cool to see, and to see them like actually get stopped. Like the suction definitely could have killed everybody. The board definitely could have killed everybody. Last page is amazing. I fucking love that punch. Whenever you see something break, that we've got something good here.
Especially on a guy like that, or a boar.
Yeah, and with a name like Emet, maybe. It's nice it's cool to see that like we have a little more insight into what the Iron Giant actually is, if it is indeed a golem. Very cool stuff. And that's all I got.
All right, Steven, what are your final thoughts on the chapter?
Yeah, I think I think the mythology or the folklore angle is kind of cool. I'm not necessarily going to put too much stock into like, oh, well, this means that this is going to be this, because we know that Oda loves to just kind of make allusions to things and like use a familiar word or a familiar theme and then just kind of do whatever he wants with it. So I'm not necessarily expecting too many one-to-one comparisons, but it is definitely clear to me that like he chose that because of the themes of what this robot is, as this kind of this giant warrior that is acting on someone's behalf, and how that plays into Joy Boy and his stuff is interesting. It makes me think, not that this is new, but when we were talking so much in Wano about Momonosuke and his connection to the Momotaro theme of like, okay, well, he's going to have a couple characters who kind of represent the classic, like the dog and the bird and the monkey kind of on his side, that sort of thing. Like this kind of reminds me of that as well, of like Joy Boy having the giant elephant and the giant robot that are kind of his companions, seemingly. Things from an ancient era that seem to respond to him and take orders from him, which is interesting parallels. For the rest of this chapter, I don't know. I mean, I guess I will be a little bit. I'll be the Danny Downer in this case, where I think because it is a short chapter, it wasn't as big of a deal last week when it was still kind of mostly exposition, but there's a lot of action in this chapter, and I do feel like he really could have used like 2 or 4 extra pages to kind of sell like what's going on here. I just feel like we were talking about how strange, and I don't know, he got enough time, I guess, to show like Luffy and the gang kind of taking care of the bird, but it is still kind of, I don't know, it's still a little bit confusing as to why like this particular means was necessary to beat the bird. Maybe I'm forgetting something from a previous chapter about what makes Mars invulnerable to everything else except for getting bounced like a giant inflatable trampoline thing. But maybe that could have been done a little better. And I definitely felt like the build up, the like, you know, you get two tiny little panels of the giant, and then he's just punching the boar. I don't know. I felt like that would have been cooler if there was a more involved sequence or something that didn't quite feel so abrupt. People might disagree. That's fair, but for me, it just felt a little bit unceremonious. But you know, that aside, like execution aside, like I was of course super excited that the robot comes back, and even that we got a little bit more of the message, even if it wasn't actually anything that we can take away from it. I'm just glad that Oda didn't like have those little sections be like a bunch of random names or things where I have no idea what he's talking about, and I have to like, oh no, here's the canonical spelling, like we're gonna find out what this is in like 3 years, and I have no idea what it is right now. So it was fortunate that he was mostly kind of playing the hits, so to speak, talking about inherited will and things like that, since that's easier to translate when you don't have the full context. But yeah, I'm not sure if maybe there's a little bit more still to come, but it does kind of sound like he's wrapping up his his message. But we'll see in 2 weeks.
Yep. All right, Steve. Go ahead.
I think I'm going to join Steven here, being a bit of a Danny Dowser here. Downer. Sorry, Dowser. What the hell is that? What's this Pokemon? Anyway,
Find some water.
I think this chapter was undercooked. I think, unfortunately, it was short. And I think it ends very well, but I think the fallout from like the Joy Bonnie stuff was just like, okay, I like how quickly it's Mars has to say like, no, you idiots, and it's like it's just the age fruit. Stop getting angry online.
I was so hyped, I'm not gonna lie. I was so excited.
That's not Anubis, it's just a dog with a mask.
you
bunglers.
I mean, like I said, I never had a problem with the Bonnie stuff. I was like, oh, I'm just curious what, if we're going to get an explanation what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I kind of had a feeling that, it's just Bonnie, because like Bonnie's earlier abilities were like, her trying to replicate Nika as much as she could, with her, with the morphing. So I'm like, oh, it's just like the next step. But yeah, we talked about it before. I think like the whole, sending Mars blasting off again, great way to like knock off that character for now, but it's like, I just think it was a little contrived the way they went about doing it. I think I'm kind of glad that like Sanji and Frankie were involved too, but yeah, at the Krystal was fist pumping. But I feel like Oda was just at the 11th hour. I'm like, I don't know, gum balloon. Yeah, and they help. Yeah, I think that one could have went back to the drawing board. But other than that, like I think like everything else was like discussed like well enough already. I just knew, I'm like, we're gonna miss the whole part about the Will D and like catch the end of it. But glad the Iron Giant is back and busting some tusks.
All right.
What
Anything
about
else?
you, Ed?
Yep. All right. I enjoyed this chapter to an extent. I think I mentioned this during the recap, but like that the way that he makes Mars sort of fly off really did not. I didn't understand why all three characters had to be involved in that. I don't understand the mechanics of that really, but I mean, it is satisfying to see him go flying like that, and to see, Bonnie get to use her power, such as it is. Like, is it actually, it's just an imitation of the Nika power from the age fruit. So, she can't like maintain it for that long. The freedom is too taxing on her, I suppose. But I do love her reaction to Luffy asking her to punch him, and Luffy's just whole reaction of just doing the sort of straight man kind of deal, like, oh well, yeah, of course it's gonna hurt if you use hockey and stuff like that. So I mean, Luffy he's even in Nika form, he's capable of doing like, not just like silly gags, but also like doing reaction humor of getting angry for a joke.
I think that panel of him with his tongue sticking out, where he's going like that. It's like the Total Recall, on the Mars.
Arnold, yeah,
I thought that was my favorite, like funny face of the chapter.
I love to see. I always love to see tiny Charlotte Moscato, who did not die, coming back into the series, and Katakuri getting to be all sort of cool, just standing there. And there's this aspect of York like still being on the island and still interfering in plans. And can York stop the Sunny from making it off of the island? Is there sort of something going on with Atlas and Lilith and York that's going to, I don't know, impede them from getting off the island? Because I could imagine them being off the island in 1 or 2 chapters at this point. But something could throw a wrench into that. But I am glad to see that Vegapunk did get to finish his message, even if we did skip over it. The Will of D.
Oh, you're gonna say coffee.
I think it's nice. It's nice to see that Luffy gets a hit in on these guys, even if I didn't necessarily understand how the Marcus Mars thing worked. But it's interesting that Warcury is this extra tough guy, but Luffy can punch the sandworm, but he can't really punch the boar. So that leaves Venustro and Saturn. We haven't seen Saturn in a while. Saturn might be back up by the Sunny, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's like a rocks, paper, scissors system with Luffy. Luffy beats Worm, but but Boar beats Luffy.
Yeah.
So.
And finally, the robot. I love the hints of his relationship with Joy Boy. He seems to be dependent on Joy Boy. He's looking for direction, and he's been told to wait. And he finally feels this signal that's coming that tells him, you have this purpose. You have to wait, but only when the time is right. And so now he's thinking, time is right. I'm feeling it, and just to see him appear and save the day and just interfere like that, and Luffy's reaction to him is just it's just great. That's gonna look so cool when they do that in the anime. But I also got to say, I feel like Oda. There are some sketchy drawings in this chapter, like on the very last page. There's this pile of scribbles on the island there. I guess that's supposed to be Warcury.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I was actually thinking while we were going over that chapter, I'm like, man, if this was early One Piece, you would actually see the boar. You would actually see line work and mm-hmm. I don't know, it would be a lot cleaner. Yeah,
and some of the waves just sort of look like scribbles as well, which that tends to happen when these shorter chapters happen. It's nothing like it was for Bonnie's flashback, that one terribly unfinished chapter, but it's been happening more and more, and I'm glad that Oda's taking a week off. He can come back in 2 weeks with a full-length chapter. So yeah, I'm curious. And one more thing about the sort of the fate of the Seraphim, where are they going to go after this? They going to go with CP0? They're going to go with
the farm the farm upstate.
Yeah.
They're just going to go into the world.
Yeah, you never know. Someone's going to get control of them somehow. Maybe they'll be like the little Shanks and Buggy, on Luffy's crew with the Seraphim.
Is Bonnie in that pecking order?
The control.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know.
No, I think it was just the pacifistas.
Okay,
pacifistas and the Vegapunks and the elders. Maybe CP0? Yeah.
Because I feel like if the Vegapunks...
The government patched that out.
If one of the Vegapunks was going to stick around, I think that, then maybe the Seraphims would stick around too, since there's reason for them to be there, I guess.
Yeah, they're landing among the Navy ships, so I would assume they would just go back to one of the bases or something.
Probably, yeah.
All right, that was all I had. Any final thoughts from anyone else?
I do want to say that earlier when I made my Hans Moleman reference, it's not the biggest bird cage, but the biggest seed bell.
Yes.
I fucked up my reference, and I'm really sorry. I let you all down.
I wanted to say, when you were talking about the robot, I suddenly had a flashback of the Iron Giant movie. And I said, I'm not saying Oda bit off of it, but I am saying that a giant robot named the Iron Giant, I don't know, it's very similar.
I'm not sure if anyone's actually called him that. I think that's just what we've been calling him.
Dang it.
No.
Isn't it say it in the manga?
They do?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Say it. I think it was last chapter.
Okay,
not just me.
God.
Okay.
Thank God. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not saying he did, but I'm saying coincidence. Never seen him in the same place at once. All right. That's all I had.
Yeah. I've been calling him Superman since the Yeah.
Yeah, the original Joy Boy, his name was Hogarth.
Ho hunk. Hogarthus.
All right, let's move on to the next segment.
Let's do it.
This is the anime recap for episode 1110. The numbers are getting up there. Survive deadly combat with the strongest form of humanity. I'm your host Sam, and today with me we have.
Am I supposed to say?
No, we do a dramatic pause for Ed.
Yeah,
My thing with him.
Thank you.
It's still going. Even though we're talking, I still consider the pause to be going.
Gotcha.
We have Ed.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Sam. It's as always good to be on the anime recap.
And joining us today, we also have Oryx's own Steve Yurko, the vacuum company.
Okay.
Oh, I think his mic
Steve is muted.
Yeah, I think his mic is on.
Good. Now I just realized I'm like, yeah, no relation to Queen Oric of Akisuck,
right?
AKA Queen from Just Rosa.
Mm-hmm. But more importantly,
and
Sam,
also, more important than Ed, more important than Steve, we have One Piece animator extraordinaire. We have Henry Thurlow.
Hello, glad to be back. How you guys doing?
Doing all right. Welcome
How
back
you
to the
doing?
show.
Thanks for having me.
And I think we're going to start off with just going through the episode like we normally do, but then Henry's going to add some color after we're done and some discussion about the episode and other stuff as well. So you want to just get right into it, Sam?
Sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the episode opens strong. It opens with Henry's scene this week. We've got Luffy and Lucci doing their big team-up attack against S-Bear and Zoro and Kaku versus S-Hawk. I understand Henry was the on the Luffy and Lucci flying through the air. Luffy's in Gear 4.
Mm-hmm.
S-Bear shooting some laser beams from his hands.
Yeah, I'll talk about it after you're done. But from the scene where it's about 10 cuts in or so when S-Bear is shooting the beams out of his hands and lifts them back and forth, kind of pumps his arms like that. From that scene until Luffy and Lucci Fly start attacking S-Bear and get into this kind of Dragon Ball Z type, just nonstop punching him, repeat animation, and then there's a little gap, and then they show the Zoro and Kaku stuff, and I wasn't on that. But then it cuts back to my animation where they re-show the Dragon Ball Z type punching shots, and then I animated the last just couple sequences of them delivering the big punch. So that was my section.
Nice.
Right on.
Yes. So
this was some fun. This was some fun stuff. I love seeing the fights with the Seraphim have been pretty good so far.
Yeah, so they are heroes and their begrudged allies. They knock their respective opponents down, and then we get kind of a long series of panting and breathing heavily because they just exerted a lot of energy taking these enemies down. But Shaka, standing off to the side with his hands in his pockets, having barely moved, he's like, "Oh, by the way, the Seraphim are the pinnacle of science. Don't underestimate them." So they're not down for the count yet. And Zoro finally acknowledges that these Seraphim share similarities with King from Kaido's group. And Shaka, overhearing this, he's like, "Oh, Kaido had a Lunarian on his crew?" And Zoro's like, "I don't know what words you're saying, but yeah, he did have a guy who had, these features." And Shaka's like, "Okay, then that would have to be Albert, the guy that the world government experimented on." I think Vegapunk was the one experimenting on him specifically, I guess.
Yeah, he's using the exonerative tense there, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. And we get some flashbacks to the Kaido King prison or Punk Hazard escape scene from Wano.
Mm-hmm.
And
some flashbacks to the fight with King as well. Zoro and King's fight.
Mm-hmm. Lots of flashbacks. Zoro explaining the flames. He's saying, "Oh, while the flames are up, they're basically invincible. So you got to wait for them to, when they attack, the flames will go down, and that's when they're vulnerable." And they're like, "Wow, you really know a lot about this, Zoro." It's like, yes. He shares a lot of similarities with King, and then he just lists all the characteristics, like the white hair, the dark skin, the wings, the flames. And then, the rest of the group just starts yelling at Zoro, like, "You should have noticed sooner."
It is one of the classic gags of Zoro, just sort of being a meathead there. That's some good fun.
So we cut to Nami and Brook having their fight against S-Shark. Brook gets shoulder thrown, and his head just pops right off. And so Nami has to steel herself to fight an enemy who looks like her crewmate. And who looks like a child, which are two barriers for her. And then Zeus pops out of her rod, and she's like, "Oh, it's okay, Nami, you can do it. Even though you don't want to, you can just do it." And Nami, she does get up, she does go for the big attack, a big lightning cloud. Zeus, passes right through S-Shark, zapping him. But similar to what S-Hawk and S-Bear were up to, you can't keep him down for long. He just gets right back up. And he's attacking Nami again. And that's when we get the lighter. This screen goes black, and then it fades in as Sanji's is lighting his cig. And he starts talking to himself about the Constitution of Sanji Kingdom, Article 9. Anybody who makes Nami scream will get a raw heat strike. And so he goes into a big flaming kick attack that explodes, and he rescues Nami and Brook, and we got S-Shark emerging from the flames, and Sanji's turning to him like, "Oh, whether you're a brat or whether you're Jinbei, I'm gonna execute you." And he's got a devilish grin on.
Something I want to bring up real quick. I don't know if this has been going on for a while, or I only noticed it today. Crunchyroll subs use Jinbei as opposed to Jinbei with an M, I should say.
Yeah, the Oda spelling now instead of the...
Yeah, is that a new thing? I
don't know when they swap. I don't know. They've never been super consistent about stuff. They haven't. If this, sometimes the subtitles are from a decade ago, or they're from yesterday, or I don't know if they update their style guide at any point. I don't know. I don't know when how recent it is that they started using that spelling.
Yeah,
or if they just, or if somebody just forgot that they're supposed to be spelling it the Jinbei, BEI way.
I love that close up on Sanji's face when he's kicking S-Shark. Just he's got this the really goofy but also intense look of the look he gets when that's I guess the look he gets when Nami's in danger, he's fired up, his hair is turning into flames and stuff, and also Nami having to attack S-Shark, and it's he's not cute, he's not a child, and that's how she has to psych herself up to do it. So that was pretty funny.
That brings us to the eye catch of the episode, and when we return, this is Lilith and Usopp and Frankie fighting against S-Snake. And I noticed the colors are getting really desaturated now. There's a storm cloud hovering above.
I think it's whatever. Yeah, it's because of whatever level they're on in the storm clouds. Because everyone's desaturated here. Because I kind of did a double take for a moment.
it just kind of gives like there's something ominous coming in this story is sort of the vibe it gives me.
The bubble gun is surprisingly effective.
Yes, the Lilith's bubblegum gun, whatever it is. It's basically the way it works is the bubbles have the essence of the sea, so they effectively work like sea prism stone. And the green juice, the green blood that powers the seraphim, is weak to the essence of the sea, just like devil fruits are. So she gets grazed. S-Snake gets grazed by a bubble and falls down, but then gets back up and like does the Hancock pose, like looking down on us and pointing at us before like laser zapping our crew. But then like Frankie catches her from behind, like just kind of grabbing one of the big bubbles and then pressing it down on her so she falls again.
I just gotta say, I love her little 10-year-old hissy fit there. Like, she does like a thing and makes a pout face and like waves her arms a little bit. Like, it's the most realistically they've been kids, I think. Like, S-Hawk or S-Shark or S-Bear, they don't get to, I don't know, they don't have any indication of being like kids. Like, you know, Nami says like, oh, he's
manly men.
Yeah, he's not cute. He's not a child, and you can see that for S-Shark. But like, they let S-Snake do that. I don't know. I think it works that she gets to do that sort of.
Well, she weaponizes it,
right? And I mean, that's also kind of like what the Grown Hancock sort of does it in a different way, but yeah, that attitude that they both have, it shines through.
And while we have S-Snake on the ground. She's like putting on the pouty like puppy dog crying eyes to make Frankie bashful and feel bad for her, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'll take this bubble right off." And then S-Snake like jumps him and kicks him, and he turns like half stone. And then she just like makes some like cute faces at Lilith and Usopp, and they fall for it immediately, and they turn to stone. Yeah, she does the full marrow beam. And elsewhere, Shaka is coming across the lab, the old Devil Fruit lab where the Stella Vegapunk is being held prisoner. And he's like, oh, you know, Vegapunk's like, Shaka, who are you with? And Shaka's like, what do you mean? And then blam! A gunshot happens and blood splatter and a very extreme close up of like the end of a pistol. So we can't see who did it, but Shaka has been shot and taken down, and now the mystery assailer is walking down the stairs. We can hear like the sound of the kind of bubbly sound of the egghead moon shoes going whoop, 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 as the person's like menacingly walking towards Stella, who sees this person and is aghast and says, "You are ... And then that's how the episode ends, to be continued. And then post credits, we have Lilith and Edison telling the children about Monsieur King.
Cool.
Right, general thoughts on this episode, you guys?
I liked seeing the Seraphim in action. I mean, I've been really enjoying the Kaku, Lucci, Luffy, Zoro, friends, but also, enemies, but aligned for a certain purpose. And they get to show they really get to do their martial arts, I think. And Henry, I think he did a really good job of that. They get to show their fighting technique in this episode. And I really thought that went really well. And I think the Sanji part of like the father of the Sanji Tushin, I think is what we called him when we did that manga recap. But I don't know. Him jumping in with that kick, that was a really fun moment. And I enjoyed S-Snake as well, sort of getting to be her pouty sort of trickster self as a kid. Like, I like that sort of, being tricking adults in a way that only a child could. So I like that, and I think the animators, like, I don't know, there's something about the way that she moved her arms when she was doing her little pouty thing, which I don't know, looked very intricate to me, and I don't know, I appreciated that. I like that.
She feels very like Sailor Senshi inspired. She's doing it feels like she's doing a lot of those poses. She's been one of the
she's
more
she is voiced by Sailor Moon, right? Hancock?
I think I think so.
I didn't know that.
So I guess that makes sense. I don't know. It feels like she's one of the more entertaining characters animation wise.
Mm-hmm.
Lately she's doing a lot of fun. They're really having fun hamming it up with her. But the previous stuff, I do enjoy getting to see a lot of like animated Kaku action, because you're always gonna see more of Luffy and Zoro, and Lucci had a lot of shine with the Gear 5th fight. So I'm very entertained seeing him get to do a little bit more in the anime version. Other than that, I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah, the Sanji scene, I think, some really good compositions, some rendering there. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of advances the mystery is sort of about to be revealed. This mystery that's been building for like the last 5-6 episodes, with Shaka getting shot. It's sort of like, okay, someone shot him. We're probably going to see who that is next episode, and this whole thing is going to start to come together at this point.
Yep.
All right, Henry.
All right, Henry. Thank you.
Stage.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So let's see. I explained which sequence was mine. It happens right at the beginning of the episode. What can I say about my sequence? I just tried to, do my thing. Keep the sequences moving from start to finish the whole time. I mean, the only time there's any reused animation is during the repeats of when they're punching. So, just like, how I try to approach most of my sequences, just keep it moving. Lucci dodging all of the beams. I just kept, fire. I actually had the beams, like I drew Lucci once, and then I drew all the beams first, like boom, boom, or wait. Oh, no. Sorry, reversed. I had Lucci like dashing out of the way of like just everything. Like I didn't know where the beams were exactly yet. I just had him like, oh no, he moves to the right, he moves to the left. Oh no, there's something there from the top, this way, that way. And then afterwards, I added a new layer of like forcing the beams to go exactly where they would have to, so that he would have to get out of the way at that moment, right? And so but yeah, just keep it moving. No repeats, no like left right, but full on just a new section of the of the screen that he moves to each time. And then kind of the same deal for when Lucci and Luffy were zipping around. There's some when I'm director, I can I can explain every single intricate part of the sequence, right? Because I check it at every single stage, and if I storyboarded it, I conceived it to begin with, so I can be like, this is why this and this is why that. When I don't, when I don't direct, I give my animation over, and then I just leave it in the hands of the remaining people that have to do their work to finish it, and the director makes their own choices. So like in this
more of a transformation that's out of your hands.
Yeah, it's out of my hands, and that doesn't necessarily mean good or bad, right? It just the director can improve some things. The director could make choices that I don't understand, and other things. So this isn't really a negative necessarily, but one thing I noticed, and like I don't know why the answer to this is, when Lucci and Luffy are zooming around. Here's a little like trivia that people can go back and check. There was like an extra a layer all the way on the bottom, where there was an animated ground plane going like that for like a little bit, and that took like a day to clean up. So, but it's not there in the final one. But the reason I mention it is because it is, funny enough, in the next episode preview when it aired last week. So at some point, between that one and this new one, when they were updating the compositing, I mean, I don't think it was a mistake, because I think the whole background transition was altered a little bit. And so I'm sure in the process of that, they decided now with like some just slight alterations to the background transitions and when it's like zooming and when you see a clear background, they decided let's take out that background, that ground plane layer. But so that's just an example of like the difference between when like I'm 100% in charge versus like when I do an animation job, right? I do what is asked of me. I hand it in. I try to make it as good as possible, but then other choices are made by the director, which of course is the director's job and what they should do. And then I just see the final product, same as everyone, when it actually airs. So I think the overall thing turned out good, to be honest, just speaking of my sequence, because sometimes there'll be like mess ups in the timesheet, or there'll be in-betweens that look really bad. The two that jump out to me on One Piece specifically in the past that frustrated me were the very first time I actually worked on One Piece, back in 903 when Luffy was jumping around at the sumo match. There's like one kind of jump in animation when he jumps back away from the sumo wrestlers. What was the guy's name? Does anyone remember his name?
No.
I would remember.
Urashima?
Yes.
Urashima.
Yes. That's right. Oh, very good. When his hands are coming in and hitting Luffy, like there's Luffy's jumping to the left, right, and then all of a sudden Luffy just jumps back super fast to the left side of the screen, and that's like a timesheet mess up. And I wish I was in house at that time because I would have been like, hey, I noticed a mess up, like you didn't add the in betweens correctly. But it was out of my hands, at that point. So I had to see it on TV and then roll my eyes and go, oh man, they like missed 2 or 3 of my in-betweens. And then another time was 997. That's like a sequence of mine no one ever talks about, which is when Kaido bursts out of the ground as the dragon and then heads towards the roof with the Akazai all hanging on his back. The sequence works and is fine, but like there are some just outright bad in-betweens, like on Kaido's face, like in the scales are all jumping around, and I'm like, oh man, like that's not supposed to happen. So in this time, there was nothing like that. All nice, smooth in-betweens. Everything kind of worked the way I wanted to. I wish they didn't have to add kind of the dimming effect, like the kind of everything gets a little bit blurry, like when the arms are all swinging. But that's for that's for broadcast. That's actually
I don't think that's on ours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Crunchyroll doesn't have the
dimming effect.
The dimming, yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
For One Piece, at least. For other shows, it does.
Okay, cool.
Actually, I wanted to say one thing. I like the way that you make Luffy sort of twirl to avoid attacks in Gear 4th. Like, there's a point where like Lucci is like big in the screen, and then he like dives in to do his attack, and sort of Luffy pops up behind him, does a twirl, and then dives in to attack. And I don't know. I feel like Luffy is very graceful in this Gear 4th, and Lucci is more vicious. Like, it's just the way he attacks is more vicious than sort of the way Luffy is sort of flying through the air like that. And I don't know, he's very graceful, like Luffy, in this form.
I'm the guy who spins stuff. Like I keep spinning stuff. I can't help spinning. I made a post about that a while back, but I noticed it. Like it wasn't like something I was really cognizant of. I was just like, okay, the character is here. He needs to do kind of an action-y type move to get from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. What should he do? And I always somehow there's something related to like the character's body spinning or a full spin or a backflip or something like that. And so like this set of sequences is just filled with that. Like Luffy and Lucci just keep like rotating and rotating and rotating. And even the beams, actually, if you follow the beams, they shoot off into the distance and then they start spiraling. It's super small, but it just, for me, I just like knowing that there's like spinning and rotation on the screen. I think 2D animation lends feels good when things are moving like that. Like I guess it's related to
the implication of 3D.
Yeah. And Steve could probably appreciate this, like, in animation, things move on arcs, they look best when moving on arcs. So like, I just, like, I force the arc, even when the motion isn't something that should even, require that. I'm just like, animation looks good on arcs, so let's just force an arc here. So that's why I just keep things rotating and rotating and rotating, make sure it moves in that kind of circular motion kind of thing. The most difficult sequence of mine, and I posted a while back, like, oh man, I'm struggling on this sequence, and some people said, hey, when the sequence comes out, talk about it. Was there's one short sequence, I forget how long it is. It's like 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds. It's really short, but that's the issue. And Lucci shows up close on screen and like bursts his claws out,
long fingernails, yeah,
long fingernails, kind of zips back, goes in a fighting pose, and then he kind of comes forward and the camera goes up and we see Luffy spin again behind him.
That's the one I was talking about.
Like, okay.
He pops up behind him and does a twirl and then goes into attack. Yeah.
So that one, the reason that was so hard is because I had to fit so much in so short of an amount of time. If I had like a 7-second sequence, I could really easily. I mean, it would be more work because it's 7 seconds, so that's not good. but like I could more easily be like, okay, Lucci comes up at the front of the screen, extends the claws. We have him very slowly kind of presenting those claws clearly to the screen for 1 second or 2 seconds, and then he swishes back nice and slowly, gets into a pose. We hold that for a nice second or 2 seconds. Like I could show off a whole bunch of poses, but in 2.5 seconds or whatever it was, like, how do you show all of those poses and make it not just like so hectic that nothing reads? And I kept making all these new poses and like, thinking, okay, this one will work. And then when I hit play, I was just like, this is craziness. Like nothing was working. Like each pose might be cool, but like you can't see it. Like how the heck do I get this working? So like that took in the layout phase like a few days, I think, because when I thought I had it, I then cleaned it up a little, went out to lunch, came back and was like, all right, let's look at this with fresh eyes. And again, I was like, no, it's horrible. Like, it's just not working. So eventually I think I did get it working, but it was just, I ended up having to erase and rework like big sections of it until finally it did. But, it was fun. That's probably my favorite sequence actually from the whole thing too. So, when you work at something a long time, if you can get it working, it feels good. It was worth it to, work on that for a while. And then the final sequence is, I will say the punch of, here's more trivia. The very final punch, the last sequence wasn't changed at all. Like Luffy and Lucci are punching S-Bear, and that one also, there's like a glow coming from the middle, like an energy kind of blast, but then there's another layer of like little sparkly energy blasts that, and they're blue, little blue, and they're also spinning. I was like, I need, even in this one, like I need spinning. But the sequence right before that, when Luffy and Lucci punch, the animation director changed those frames in between the layout phase and the cleanup phase. So I cleaned them up myself. They're all my cleaned up drawings, so I got it working. But I had it a little different, where like they both came in, and I think Luffy punched like above, and then Lucci punched below, and their timing was off a little, so it was like that. But that got altered a little bit, but it is what it is. I think it did end up working well. So yeah, the last sequence was them punching them, blessing them back, and that ends my part. I could talk about the episode in general and a few things about directing, but does anyone have questions for my sequences at all? Anything else they want to know?
No, I kind of got my bit in about the twirling there, or it's the way Luffy moves in Gear Forth in that sequence, which I really liked. That was sort of my main observation from that.
So the bit you were talking about earlier, where there was a ground layer that got removed, that was on that's like in the footage of like Luffy and Lucci like coming at us. Yeah. I mean, it's super subtle. You might not notice, but I who drew it do. So if you go and look at the next episode preview from last week and you look at this one, the thing is you still see the ground plane the way they have it now, but it's a background layer and it's not an animated Sakuga layer.
again, super subtle. Like if you can't even notice it, then obviously they did their job of just making sure everything worked. But just a funny thing that the animator can't help but notice, when there's changes to what they hand in.
Oh yeah, I see it now. I'm looking at the preview version.
Oh, cool.
So as for the whole episode, I mean, I think there's lots of little nice things here and there. I don't really know who did what, to be honest. I'm looking at the staff roll right now. I do recognize Levent Kodal worked on my episode 1066. He did the when Big Mom's arm was broken and then twirled. So a really great sequence from 1066. And I don't know which sequence he worked on in this one, but there was a handful of little, like, really nice things, which brings me to kind of the main point, though, which is I do recognize that this isn't one of like the knock it out of the park, amazing 10 out of 10 episodes. And I see a lot of people mentioning that, and I did want to make kind of a comment about I think there's a nice way to say that and just be like, oh, this isn't one of the great crazy Sakuga episodes, but I appreciate it. I think there's a respectful way of just being realistic about that, and then of course a disrespectful way, which is what most people online do. Oh, this sucked. Boo. The episode director was Tokoro. His full name.
Vocal minority is a term.
Katsumi Tokoro. And I see some people saying, oh no, keep Tokoro away. Look, and then the other person they say that to sometimes, just to, I want to address what people are saying online. Keep it 100, is Kenichi Takeshita. So Takeshita-san, his episodes and Tokoro's episodes, I see a lot of people going, and complaining and whatever. Look, it's difficult as a creator because there's two things. It's not simply a matter of like, I don't want to critique in any way, shape, or form, but I actually see things from two different perspectives. Like truly though, right? It's not trying to middle of the road it. On the one hand, I'm not blind. I'm also a fan. I recognize that there's episodes that like leave you, your jaw open and oh my god. And then there's other ones where it's like, oh, it was just a straight up normal anime episode. Like it just the scenes played out, and there was some cool stuff, there was some not cool stuff, and then whatever. What you will look back on as a general average episode, right? Mm-hmm. And I understand as a fan, people going, oh man, I wanted this one or that one to be one of the amazing ones. That was crazy from start to finish. Oh, I'm angry. I get it. Like, like everyone wants a 10 out of 10 episode every single week for every single thing they love. And why wouldn't you? But on the other hand, I recognize the hard work and the necessity of these directors that are able to see the production over the finish line and help out the overall production of the One Piece anime, as opposed to trying to make their moment as flashy as humanly possible. There is real value in that. And I can use Takeshita as a great example for that. So first of all, Takeshita, who also gets the same comments of, oh no, his episodes aren't going to be the best. He's made amazing stuff in the past. He was responsible for like Amon, the Devilman, Apocalypse OVA from back in the day, which
the fight in the nightclub. No. That was the original OVA, but but they made an Amon Apocalypse of Devilman OVA, which is pretty rare and not well known in the West, I don't think. But that showed the very final manga storyline of the whole thing. So like if you watch that original OVA and then you watch the Amon OVA, there's like a giant gap in the story. You obviously missed a lot, but it's kind of continuing that, and you get to see the ending of the whole thing. And it is one, and you guys know me, and anyone who knows me knows I love the old violent OVAs and everything, and that one Kawajiri stuff,
but this one has to be among the top handful of like most violent, unbelievable kind of, wow, I can't believe they severed people's heads and stuff like that. The way
there's
like crazy,
like big downers and Devilman.
or watching
interpretation,
Violence
so
Jack, same author. But
that's got to be saying something.
You know,
there.
and he worked on Arjuna, which was a really high quality series back in the day. Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, huh?
Shoji Kawamori's Ethics of Philosophy.
It's true. Yeah. I don't deny it. But anyway, the point is he's obviously capable of great stuff, and I can use specific examples 2 times where I think he really saved us. So when I worked on 1017, and I worked on and I was the director of 1066. And both times they were followed by a Takeshita episode, right? And both times on the internet, I saw, everyone saying, "Oh my God, 1017 was amazing. Oh my God, 1066 was amazing." And then immediately after that, "Oh no, it's followed up by Takeshita. Look at the quality drop." But the fact of the matter is, those episodes, episodes before his, have a lot to thank him for, because those really difficult episodes take a lot out of the compositing team, and a lot out of the background team, and a lot out of the overall team doing retake after retake, because of so many unreasonable, difficult sequences in them, right? Unusual for a TV production. And they, both times, literally the staff went to Takeshita, and I saw this in person, and was like, "Hey, we're really trying to make this one good, but you're going to have like half the time on your compositing or something if we keep pushing this. Is that okay?" And both times in the most gracious way. Of course, I love seeing people like give it their all. Like, "You guys are so into it. Do your thing. I'll pick it up wherever you give it to me." Like, he's taking it more of like this is a job, and I'm helping the entire overall One Piece production, you know what I mean? As opposed to, I want to steal the spotlight, which truth be told is how I feel, and how some other Michibata-san was the director of 1017, and undoubtedly she was like, I want the spotlight here, and I want something amazing here. And if it was followed by an episode director who wasn't down with that and was like, "Well, this is effing BS, like, absolutely not. I also demand highest of qualities," then there would have had to be some type of compromise of, "Look, you guys don't get as many retakes as you were hoping for in those previous episodes." So 1066, I have a lot to thank Takeshi-san for. A specific example of that is, I picked the whole color scheme of like everything getting purple and bluish when the beam shoots out from Damned Punk. Like there was some different variations of what that could have been, and I was working with the background artist. And if Takeshita-san was the type of director who was like, "Hey, no, hold on a second. The beam is shooting mostly in my episode, and I was thinking that it was a yellow color scheme and this and that, and the beam is mostly in my episode. This isn't fair. I think we need to have a meeting with the episode directors, and I get to choose this. And Henry, you need to adjust your sequence to my idea for this one." Like, he could have done that. He could have, and had a great argument for like, hey, he gets some choices in as it pertains to Damned Punk as well, because that's so important for his episode, right? But he was like, "Henry, I see your enthusiasm. I just want to be like helpful. Like, you pick what the color board is, and then I'll just take it and tell my team, hey, use what Henry picked and continue it into my episode." And so, like, I'm eternally grateful for that. So when I see a comment, "Oh no, it's his episode," I don't think you realize how he's helping the overall production. And the same goes for Tokuro. Last week there was some amazing sequences of that crazy fight, right? With S-Hawk. And yeah, I think there is a correlation between that episode getting to rework that again and again and again and make sure that was as smooth as could be, and the following episode having to take a step back and be like, "All right, this episode is more of a let's just focus on getting it done properly," like so that's why it's difficult, because on the one hand, again, just to recap, like I get it, this was a fine episode, but nothing to write home about. On the other hand, I really appreciate the directors, and I don't think they do a bad or even average job. I think they're a crucial part of the team, and everything moves and flows the way it should, to get this very difficult production out week after week after week.
The way you describe it, it sounds like Takeshita's sort of instrumental in keeping the anime, the workflow, keeping that manageable and being able to do it, keeping it able to do it every week.
Yes,
it's not
exactly. And in his episodes, there are moments of absolute brilliance, to be honest, because Vincent animated his 1067 sequence of Big Mom finally actually falling and Law giving the slash to Misery. But obviously the director also storyboarded that and and made sure that was all composited correctly and everything. And one of his episodes back right around 1000 was Luffy running when they were fighting the numbers, and there was this crazy angle, and then Luffy transformed into Gear 4th and started fighting. And it was either that episode, I think it was that episode. There was one sequence I remember him talking about making, and Luffy was flying around in Gear 4th through the whole live floor area, and they implemented making a 3D background but then blurring it out so you didn't really notice it was 3D, and that was a really brilliant sequence. So yeah, I don't like seeing slander of any of the episode directors. Everyone, I think, is doing a great job. You're of course allowed to have your opinions on this was a 10 out of 10 episode, and this was a 7 out of 10 episode, et cetera, but everyone's doing their best is my point, and I'm appreciative of working on any episode and helping out anybody.
So yeah, how is sort of the state of animation? What are you working on these days, if you can talk about anything?
All right, so officially that ended the anime recap, right? We're done with that. So
sure.
Yes.
in your podcast, I don't know if you want to split this into this full extra section or if just you let this flow. But okay, totally new thing. So I mentioned online that I have an announcement. So here we go. I'll give you my announcement. All right. So let's see. All right, just rip the Band-Aid off. I hope you guys appreciated the episode and the sequences, because for the foreseeable future, that's my last work on One Piece. Unfortunately, I am leaving the One Piece staff and Toei Animation in general. Yes. So, I'm a pretty outspoken person, as you guys know, mostly via this podcast even. And so I want to address it and not just because people make up their own stuff. I mean, people are going to do that anyway, and I'll see ridiculous conspiracy theories online, and I'll have to grit my teeth and just hate it every time I do. But while not going into details and naming names and all that stuff, I want to give you a general just reason for, why this is. Okay. So the fact of the matter is, so after I finished 1066, I mentioned to you guys I need a break, because that was really, really crazy intense. But I will get back to episode directing when after I feel up for it, right? So it's been a year now. It's been a little over a year, a few weeks over a year since 1066 aired, and people are constantly asking me, hey, when are you going to direct another episode? Are you ready yet? The fact of the matter is, I was actually ready quite a while back. I needed a few months, but right around the time where I was animating Ryokugyu for episode 81 to 82, around that time I started telling them okay, I've had the few months after the Ryokugyu animation, I think I'll be good to go. And then I started, I know I'm not famous and can really demand where I want to direct, but I gave lists of suggestions hey, I think I would be good at this part. I think I would be good at that part. What do you think? You want to do this? I would love to. and I kept getting, oh, that episode's going to so and so. Oh, I'm not super sure about that. And can you just hold on a little bit long? Can you animate just one more episode? Can you animate just one more episode? And I was like, well, okay, yeah, I can. Like, that's fine. But I'm really not on staff to be an animator. Truth be told, I kind of never was. Right at the very beginning of even entering Toei, the deal was, I'm gonna be directing. Actually, you guys might not know that, but that's what I was in talks with right from day one, and in the midst of learning the direction process and where would be inappropriate and finding an appropriate job for me, I would also just keep working as an animator. So I was like, look, of course I love animating and making stuff for you guys, but like, I have to get another episode. Like, you can't just keep saying, wait until the next month, wait until the next month. What's the deal? And so, how do I word it so that, again, like, it doesn't become a whole thing? Basically, there was just one person on staff who eventually came down as, I don't want Henry directing another episode. But before you say, oh, well, maybe behind the scenes Henry was like, not doing a great job or whatever, because that's I was a little worried about that. And I was like, well, tell me, like, what is the reason? What is the reasoning for that? Like, did I mess up? Like, it was my first time. Did I? And it really truly wasn't that. It was like it was truly just an artistic kind of thing. That had to do with, like, I know this sounds super lame, but this is like the reality, like color usage and stuff like that. Like the very GIF image that you guys shared for this week to advertise me coming on the podcast, where Kid is like an orange color scheme and then a blue color scheme and like being electrocuted by misery. Like, I go wild with my color usage and color schemes. In 1066, it was normal for the first half of the episode, but then went to like hard, unrealistic blue and green color schemes for the entire misery scene, followed by shining purples and things like that. So everyone likes that. Like, everyone I know and everyone on the staff likes that. All the fans like that. Those are the stuff that's shared around the most. But one person who wields quite a bit of power on the staff was like, I don't think that feels like One Piece. It's et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm sorry, but my decision is, for the foreseeable future, can Henry just keep animating? We'll get him something again, but not anytime soon. And the nail in the coffin for me, for deciding, I'm going to have to maybe look for other stuff. This is crazy ironic because everyone loves the sequence. I think a lot of people think this is my best sequence, but just recently in 1093, where Aokiji, the color scheme all changed there, right? When Aokiji started transforming, everything got kind of black and white and dark blues and stuff like that. And then Aokiji got all artistic. So everyone, all the fans, and again, even on staff, everyone on staff, like even really, really big, powerful people on staff, like came up to me and were like, Henry, my man, like, that's so cool. Love that you took control of that. Inutsuka-san, the episode director of 1093, basically handed that scene to me, not to fully direct, because he was the one responsible for final compositing and everything, but he gave me massive amounts of freedom, right? And I could even make color notes and things like that on my timesheets. And he's like, I trust you, Henry, like, whatever you write, even if you want to go, pretty out there with it, like, I'll follow your stuff, pretty closely. And so I don't want to say like it's a mini section I directed, but kind of close to it, right? Because of Inutsuka-san, who I sat literally next to, saying, "Hey, go for it. Like, I'll put it through as okay." And when that came out, everyone loved it except this one individual who I heard didn't even like that and was like, "Why did Henry kind of again get to do just something crazy? I don't like this, And so when I heard that, I was like, okay, so I'm not getting the opportunity to direct anytime soon. When I even do, I'm probably going to be told, don't do it the way I like it. And now I'm even hearing that animation sequences I'm super proud of are probably something that needs to be, toned down and pulled back. So my whole, I've repeated again and again on this podcast, like my favorite thing about working on the One Piece staff is just this unbelievable freedom, like, and respect, and it's like when I have some type of creative idea, all of a sudden I can feel free enough to implement that and then get to see it on TV and see fans all over the world, enjoying it. And with that whole series of events I just said, especially when I heard the feedback from 1093, despite how many fans were liking it, that I shouldn't do that again. That's when I was like, okay, so here's the deal. And I told the head producers this. I was like, either you have another meeting and like you decide Henry's an important enough staff member, like so that everyone has to just give me another episode, or if you have to come back to me and say, we've decided we will give you this episode. And if you don't do that, then I am going to look for more directing work. And if someone else at some other studio says, fine, Henry, we'll give you that directing chance, then I'm going to go there, because I love One Piece more than anything. There's no series that to me is even equal to One Piece, let alone like better or more, something that I would want to work on more. But if some studio is saying, Henry, we saw what you did with 1066. Yes, hey, come over here, do something like that over here. Like, we'd love it. Like, yeah, we'll give you the resources to do that, et cetera, et cetera. Then career-wise, like, I want to do that and try that. That's going to result in me being a better animator, director, artist, et cetera, rather than be on a staff where I'm just, over the last few months, being told, stop, slow it down, don't do that, don't do this, and so they tried, but this one individual wouldn't change their mind, and so I was like, okay, then I'm gonna check. I'm just gonna see. I don't know, like, it's been a few years since I've applied, and I understand like looking for directing work is going to be specifically hard in the anime industry, but I looked and found it. So I have moved. So I finished this sequence from episode 1110 that aired just now, and then I went to another studio. So second part of the announcement, I am directing something right now, but yeah, so all good news in terms of the at the end of the day, I found something and I'm really excited about it. Can't wait for everyone to see it. Not ready to announce it yet because it's not that. Yeah,
these things take a long time.
They take a while, although this one won't take super long. I wanted a longer schedule, but no, it's something that's coming in the fall, actually. So cool. So it's all good news, and also I there's a few other things to say. First of all, I wrote a little list here just so that I kind of don't forget the main things I wanted to say. Look, people are going to say, I wonder who on staff was the person that didn't love Henry's work, and I'm just not going to comment on it beyond this one comment, because if people incorrectly guessed this one person, it would really annoy me. So it's not Nagamine. Nagamine, the chief series director, who I've mentioned again and again on the podcast, he's always been a huge supporter of mine and super helpful behind the scenes. And even in this case, he was like, he tried to talk to me and like, well, I know you're not being given this opportunity, but like, let's see what we can do, like, et cetera, et cetera. So like, he's always been a supporter. So that's the one name I don't want to see anyone even guessing. And I will be back. I know that might sound weird, but the anime is going to be going on for a while. Yeah, it's not ending anytime soon. I'm not going to be back really fast, but I have word from massive people on staff, even like very high people like producers and stuff, saying we're going to call you for another episode, Henry. But the situation as it is now is one where we can't pass it to you, unfortunately. But post Egghead and in future arcs and stuff like that. It's we're gonna call you, so just take our call. And I'm like, of course, I'll always go back to One Piece. Like, One Piece is my favorite. The other thing I wanted to say is, like, I'm not when I do announce what I'm working on, there obviously I don't care about stupid internet trolls. So if people are just good, if stupid trolls are going to go LOL or whatever like that, I don't care. But for the people that do care and are actual fans and stuff like that, I want you to know I didn't leave One Piece for anything. It's not, so I don't want to see like a headline like Henry leaves One Piece for boom, then the name of this other series. I didn't leave it for that series. I wouldn't leave One Piece for anything, because there is no series that is equal to One Piece. So even future series that I make, like, I still think One Piece is the greatest shonen series, right? It's just that, like, as an artist, I was going to be respected a little bit more and given more opportunities somewhere else. So at the moment, I want to go try to work with other people. And I got a really interesting deal at this next studio. Actually, I'm working on 2 things with them, so I'll keep it super vague, but I am directing something. And then I'm also helping them out with animation on another thing. But the thing that I'm helping them out with animation on is, like, I can't even believe I got the opportunity to work with someone really, really big. And so when I saw what was available to me, I was like, nah, that's the way to go. So I didn't leave One Piece for anything. As an artist, it was just appropriate for me to work somewhere else at the moment. But I'll be back. Looking forward to it. The other thing, and here's like a little kind of, spiteful thing. I guess this comes from the spiteful aspect of me. If I make something good, I want the fans to feel should have been One Piece. like if the thing I make comes out and it's like, whoa, Henry made something awesome. Look at how good this is, and he got all these good animators together again. Oh my god! Like obviously, if I fail and I make something bad, then this is kind of a bet that I'm making right now, right? Because then people will be like, haha, we didn't care. But if I make something good, every One Piece fan, every and One Piece Twitter, account, they should post should have been One Piece because it should have been. Like, I wanted to make that for One Piece. I'll tell you right now, actually, now that I'm kind of off the staff, I can say I wanted to do, like, here's kind of the list of stuff that I wanted to do, which I won't be, but I wanted to do the Kid versus Shanks thing. I wasn't going to extend the fight to make it look like Kid beat him up at all, but I like brutal stuff, as you guys probably know, and as much as I love Kid, I was open to the idea of, all right, well, we're going to take this character that I truly love but destroy the hell out of this guy, but how can we do it in a respectful, crazy, cool, well-directed way? I was thinking of ways, right? I said the Sabo stuff coming up. I'll keep it kind of spoiler free, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I suggested the Gorosei stuff because I love drawing monsters. Oh, yeah. Ironically, I suggested this episode, 11:10. Now, this one the schedule might have been kind of tough or whatever when I had asked. Maybe that was part of it. But I actually kind of really like the story of this episode because it goes around to 3 fights, and then it ends with a brutal assassination. So I think if handled correctly and with massively extended fight sequences, it could have ended up being like a really psycho episode, right? So there was a whole bunch of stuff like, and Hachinosu. I was like, there's like 2 episodes from Hachinosu, and I think, and messed up enough, and I'll let this just linger with people. Other than that one person I mentioned, everyone on staff did actually pick one for me, and I was told which one it was. And so I won't, maybe like 10, 20 years in the future now or whatever, I'll say it. They had gotten to the point where they even did decide one of those I was going to handle. But then it ended up all falling apart. So I was this close to one of those things I just mentioned. But it didn't happen. So if I make something amazing somewhere, should have been One Piece.
I was just thinking specifically about the elders of that's like Saturn is like something that's straight out of like Wicked City. Like
yes.
I feel like that would have been straight up your alley.
Yeah, to be honest, that is the one like real bummer because I do like drawing monsters. Like whenever I draw monsters and stuff like that, that's when I get like no corrections. Like Luffy and Lucci this week did have none of the like what is it, composition or size of the characters or anything changed. But like in terms of like, hey, draw Luffy's face like that, draw Lucci's face like that. Yes, the animation director put corrections, and they should have, because you know I can't draw a perfect Luffy face. I need a little assistance from the animation director. It's true. But the monster stuff, Momonosuke and the dragons, like I get no corrections at all, and it's just like go with it because I like that is what I'm good at. So I could have drawn those monsters going crazy, no corrections, all just raw Henry stuff. It would have been fun, but it is not to be. At least not during Egghead. We'll see what happens in the future though. Also, just for fun, I'll say two places I'm not going. So the two places because people might guess this. People might say, "Oh, I bet he's going to these." So these are probably the two places people who know me at all would probably guess I would be going, and I'm not going to either of them. At least not now. The first one is Studio Pierrot. Studio Pierrot, I have a history with. I worked there on Naruto and Tokyo Ghoul and Akatsuki no Yona and stuff. And Masayuki Koda is a friend of mine or an acquaintance. Like we're good with each other. We are constantly talking with each other. And he was one of the directors of the Boruto series. And so it is very possible and probable that I'll work with Pierrot again at some point, because I am in kind of talks with them for all intents and purposes, like constantly. But right now, it's not a Pierrot production I'm going to. So maybe in the future, maybe next year or the year after, whatever, we'll see. But at this point, not a Pierrot production. So for everyone's like, I bet he's going to Boruto. Nope. The other one, and here I'll whip up some, I don't know if it's controversy or whatever, but the other one is I'm not going to the One Piece remake at WIT.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And in fact, I got some harsh words about that. And now that I'm off all this staff, I can say it. I don't like that they're doing that remake. I think that you guys have differing opinions and stuff, but whatever. I'll keep it real as far as my own opinions. I was talking to someone from WIT a while ago, and they offered that I work with them on that. But at the time, I didn't know that it was a remake. Like WIT made one Pokemon movie, right? One of the Pokemon movies wasn't made by OLM; it was made by WIT Studio. Oh. Yeah. I
don't think I knew that.
The one with Zeraora, the like tiger kind of humanoid tiger character. I think Zeraora is that right? Yeah. Right. That one was totally made by WIT. They passed it off, and it is really cool. And I thought that was interesting. Like it's another studio's project, but WIT's making their own side story of it, right? And wow, that's cool. Look at the different styles that appear in the series. So when I first heard of kind of what they were talking about, I was like, oh, maybe they're doing something like that for One Piece, like. I guess, like
they did that
an extra movie
Monsters.
or an extra movie. Yeah, like Monsters, like it's some kind of side story of One Piece or whatever. And at the time I was like, yeah, maybe I'll work on that. Like I think I could take a freelance job for that or something. Like that could be cool. But then I saw the announcement too, and I'm like, remake? What are you doing? Remake? That's so stupid. So like, I'm not reanimating stuff that already exists. Like, I think it's dumb. I understand One Piece is over 1,000 episodes. It's hard to get into, but then don't get into it. Is my attitude. Like,
the series isn't even over yet. Like,
it's not even over
source
yet.
Material. Yeah.
It's not even over yet. The original series quality obviously is different, now than what it was at the beginning of the series. But like, I'm against almost remakes in general. I guess like understand this isn't just a me being bitter about One Piece work being remade thing. I hate remakes. I really despise them because it's just we're just reliving the same thing over and over again. If they were like we're remaking Dragon Ball, Henry, you want to animate Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time? No. That's already famous. It's already super famous and beloved and iconic. Like if they were like, hey, we're remaking The Godfather Part 2, Henry, want to be an actor in it? I would be like, are you insane? It's the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my life. Like, it's a piece of art. Like people don't remake the Mona Lisa. Let's remake the Sistine Chapel because, that the original's pretty old at this point. Get out of here. It's freaking ridiculous. So, no, I don't want any series remade, even when studios I work for do it. Like Toei remade Sailor Moon recently. Why? I personally don't understand it. Like, don't remake stuff. Even when the original is problematic, like Tokyo Ghoul, I understand, I worked on those series, but like I get like the last few seasons, people's complaints, like it all of a sudden just rocketed, and I know behind the scenes stuff with that too, which I won't go into, but like I just, even if they announced a remake for that, I wouldn't want to do it because it just, I understand the first one wasn't the adaptation everyone hoped for, but it's done. What's done is done, and now move on is my feeling. One of my favorite series, if I could, whenever people ask if I could do anything, what would be your dream project? I've said again and again, like adapting either Shamo the manga or adapting the Shigurui manga. Shigurui is like a sword fighting, yeah. Like
I remember the Funimation release. They called it Death Frenzy when it came out.
Oh, okay, yeah. I have I have those Blu-rays too, the Death Frenzy Blu-rays. Yes, and the first series is the anime is amazing, by the way. But the manga, oh my god! Like they ended the anime right before the story arc in the manga, which is like life changing. It is so, like, for me who's into that violent stuff, this is like, even for me, I'm like, oh, this is the most violent thing I've ever seen. I can't even believe this. Like, so like it's so crazy. And then at the end of the whole series, the final set of scenes is also so crazy. So there's so much great stuff that happens right after that anime. But if someone said, okay, Henry, guess what? Your dream job, Shigurui, you can make it. I would actually be torn because I wouldn't want to remake that first part. There's no reason to remake the first 12 episodes. They were done by Madhouse. I know one of the animation directors that worked on that actually. And like, I would never want to replace his work. Like, I love the work he did. So
I think it would be like the what they did with Baki. Baki had a series in 99, 2000, 52 episodes. Then they brought it back with the ONA, and they just did a straight-on continuation. I think that would be the kind of thing that you
yes.
want.
And they did that actually for Hajime no Ippo as well. There was like a 6-year gap or a 10-year gap or something, and all of a sudden they just picked it up. So ideally, that's what it would be. Like having the rights to the first one, and then like, maybe like or getting some kind of deal where they re-air those on TV or something, even so that it felt like it was smooth. I don't know. Like, now I'm just making stuff up, but like my point is like, if they said, hey, make the series but do it from start to finish, I would even be torn about that. You know what I mean? So when it comes to One Piece, which I think needs no remake at all for any reason, then it's just a layer on top that makes me just go, this is craziness. And I love Wit Studio. I've told a couple Wit Studio people this too, by the way. There was a background artist that works for Wit Studio recently who I met up with, and she was like, oh, are you going to work on the remake at all then? Like, you're obviously good with One Piece. And then I went into this and I was like, I'll never work on your freaking, like, I was like, I love Wit Studio. It's one of my favorite studios. You guys do amazing work, but I'm angry that that a studio that I would love would, in my opinion, waste their time on this thing. That, it makes me angry that it's being made, and it makes me angry at Wit Studio because of how much I actually do respect them. So anyway, yeah.
I mean, not to get into semantics too much, but I'm curious, like with Full Metal Alchemist, how do you feel about like that? because
So Full Metal Alchemist is the epicenter, like the root cause of all of this, right?
I'm a Yu Yu Hakusho fan, and for a while, and still sometimes I get people saying like they should remake that, like Hunter, because Hunter x Hunter too, and I'm like, no, they don't.
Exactly. No, they don't.
No.
Full Metal Alchemist is. You know, do you guys know there's this live action show on Netflix, Dark? It's like a time travel story. It's amazing. You guys heard of that. It's a German series, and you have to. It's the best time travel series I've ever seen. Dark. I 100% suggest it. Jaw-droppingly good. But sorry, so no one's going to understand the reference I'm saying. But they kept throughout the whole series talking about like what is the point? What is the point of Converge or whatever? Like, you know, the point that like split the timelines or whatever, right? And it's like, for me, like that word came to mind because it's like the epicenter point. The moment of splitting in this whole remake debate was Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, right? It's a bad example because everyone's taking the wrong lesson from it, at least is what I feel. Everyone sees that and goes, you see, remakes are great. Like, look at how you can still have a good original and a good remake in it, and it's all good. Full Metal Alchemist was a unique situation in that around episode whatever it was 20 of the original series, they truly made their own anime original series. It wasn't related to the storyline of the manga at all. So there's this whole setup of the characters and the city and the world, right? World building. And then the whole story is this whole thing over here, right? And here's the main villain, and et cetera, et cetera. The manga kept going and kept getting longer and longer into this big, long kind of, series that went in a 100% different direction. It's not the same thing. You're not watching or reading the same thing at all. It is a different set of circumstances, a different set of villains, totally. During the remake, I actually still don't like the part that they remade. Like the first 20 episodes of the
they
first
zip right through it.
Yeah. Well, what you should do is watch the first 20 episodes of the original series. They're amazing. The remake, which they condensed to like 10 or 11 or whatever episodes, no, it's worthless. Like you remade something that was already made great, and I think it's stupid. However, the moment then it branches off, episode 12, 13, whatever it was, then you're not watching a remake. You really are watching a 100% different thing. And then, yes, it's amazing. Everything from the point of not being a remake on and original content in Brotherhood is unbelievable. Bones knocked it out of the park. So what you're left with, though, is this amazing original series and Brotherhood, which, of course, you're going to remember the last 40 episodes or 50 episodes or whatever, as opposed to the first 10, right? What you're left with is this second Brotherhood series where 90% of it is 10 out of 10 amazing series. You know, you can't miss it. But it's because they're not really remaking it. You're not rewatching the same fight scenes. You're watching something truly new. If they remade Yu Yu Hakusho, it would be like, okay, here comes the climactic battle of the tournament again. And it's like, I already watched this tournament. Yeah. There's no reason to rewatch this tournament. This is ridiculous. Yeah.
Not to talk about speculating. I mean, you talked about speculating, but I think I must have said this previously on a podcast, and I'm like, and I don't want to ask too much into this because you shouldn't throw anyone under the bus, but I was like, I was asking like, how's Toei cool with this? Because this is like, they announced this and everyone must have like turned and been like, excuse me, what? So it's you kind of shedding some light on that.
I wonder how much it inspires people at Toei to like make what they're making now as like cool and memorable as possible, so that when any comparisons to the WIT version, they can still come up favorable.
I'll let you use your imagination on that, but I think they are killing it right now, right? I think that what that goes to show, Steve, is that when it comes to who produces what, it isn't totally on animation studios. It is on production committees and producers and stuff like that from where the original source material is coming from, and potentially what original creators want to. I don't know what Oda's opinion of everything is, obviously, but Shueisha, owns actually the rights to the One Piece manga, and so those are probably mostly talks that happen at Shueisha, I would imagine. Some of the fan base out there might think Toei equals One Piece, but that isn't really the case, right? And I guess that's what it goes to show. Toei is now producing a One Piece anime, which is actually not a Toei original. It is a Shueisha production, right? And Shueisha is saying, hey, Toei, make our series. If Shueisha comes up with other ideas and things that they want to produce, they have enough of the rights that the anime studio doesn't. I don't know what the talks was. I don't know who's happy and who's not happy at the top levels of Toei, so I can't say anything about that. But it just goes to show, animation studios. This is the main point. Animation studios don't have as much power and say over stuff as you might think. What they have, what they get is they do get respect as artists. In Japan, way more so than the West, which I've ranted about again and again, like the directors and artists and animation
level of autonomy.
Yes. They get massive control over their adaptation, but in terms of are animation studios free to make whatever they want and put whatever budget into whatever they want? Not really, no. There are production committees and things like that say we'll hand the rights over to you so that you can make this or make that, but we're setting the conditions of that to be made. You know what I mean? And so that's why certain series are just doomed. Here, I'll use an example of a series that I have no connection to whatsoever, zero, period, right? And that's A Promised Neverland, right? A Promised Neverland had an amazing first season that went nice and slow, and then the second season all of a sudden was like, boom, 12 episodes or whatever to adapt, way too much, and the quality was iffy, and everyone is really angry at that production. I don't know anything about that production, right? So this is all speculation, 100%. I have no correlation to them whatsoever. But just having been in this industry, I think I can say pretty safely, they were screwed on the offset. It's not that the animation studio deserves any fingers pointed at them. The conditions probably were, here's your budget, which ain't great, and the conditions set by the production committee are, I don't care how you do it, we'll leave it in your hands in terms of direction, etc. But the conditions are, make episodes at this price, and you have to get through the final chapter in 12 episodes. End of discussion. You have no choice. So that is your forced condition. So under such conditions, they were just screwed. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can do, essentially, to save yourself from such conditions.
Right. I remember a similar outcry over, I think, One Punch Man season 2. 5-6 years ago. Yeah. That's really enlightening, Henry. I love this discussion of the animation industry that we get to do when you come on the show.
Bombshell.
It leads to a better. I think it leads to a better understanding of how the industry works. For me personally, as well as hopefully our audience as well. So I hope they're getting everything out of this.
All right.
Yeah.
So for now, for the foreseeable future, no more work on One Piece for me. But perhaps someday. And I truly believe that. And for everyone else, look, on the flip side, for those listening that go, I always wished I saw Henry on something else too. Well, good news for you. Like one of the fan bases will be happy if you like my work, assuming you like my work. One of the fan bases out there will be very happy because I'm about to make something for you. So, look, keep following me and keep supporting me. And at the end of the day, what I learn and the connections I make from all these additional jobs, if and when I go back to One Piece, it could be beneficial then too. I could make some phone calls with all the connections I'm making over the course of this time, and maybe it'll really benefit some future One Piece stuff I even do. So it's good all around, but life doesn't always turn out exactly how you were planning on it. The only bummer is that I wasn't lying when I said I was truly going like planning on being on One Piece through the very end. I wasn't planning on ever leaving the staff. It was like my next, whatever, 5-10 years, however long, was like set in stone in my mind as far as I was concerned. Mm-hmm. But that was assuming that, I would get favorable responses when I said, hey, can I make this episode or that episode? And if that's not the conditions I was getting, well, then the conditions changed. You know what I mean? And that's what happened.
Whatever you work on next, I hope they let you draw big, disgusting monsters. So,
actually,
yeah,
I'm drawing a couple sequences of exactly that right now.
All right, all right, cool.
Well, yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's your last time animating on a One Piece for now. I hope it's not the last time we ever hear from you. It's always a pleasure, and hopefully we won't have to wait too long. But regardless. Wishing you all the best and looking forward to seeing what's coming up.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for coming on again, Henry. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's go on into the next segment.
All right.
This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, your comments, your theories, and, answer all your questions about Charlotte Moscato, who did not die. But since we're going to have a longer anime recap on this episode, I think this week we're just going to go with our first segment, and that is our patron questions on this piece. Alex?
Yeah, this is from King Doji. This was given to us yesterday. It says, hey, OPP, I have a few requests for future podcast guests. David Sobolov and Kent Williams, who voiced Kaido and Kuro/Clover, respectively. I was at a con today, and David said he'd be happy to be on, as well as Philip Chase, an English professor/booktuber who has been reading through the series. He's currently on NES Lobby and enjoying it a lot. Great podcasting, as always.
Well, thank you.
Well, that sounds cool.
Kent Williams.
Yeah,
Kent Williams.
Yeah, Kent is kind of a little bit of a legend.
Yeah,
at this point.
Kent Williams, we managed to get him for the Full Metal podcast back in the day. We were doing that.
Right.
That sounds,
It's funny because that was back. I think I won't say how I used to try and get in contact with some of these voice actors, ask them how to be on. But it was certainly a different time where I don't think you could do that anymore. But I remember Kent
sent envelopes with our business card and our headshots with glitter.
But I remember Kent was like, it's my birthday, and since I'm in such a good mood, yes, I'll do the show.
Yeah.
And he was great, but this was back. Zach and I were in college, and we always recorded at my dorm. We were recording on a weekday afternoon. The carbon monoxide alarm detector in my room, or the fire detector, either was going off. It was beeping. The battery needed to be changed.
Oh my god!
And no one was coming to fix that anytime soon. Zach and I tried taping a pillow to my ceiling to try and muffle it. It wasn't working. We had to record this interview. So we went down to the lounge in my dorm to record. And thinking like, it's like midday. I don't think anyone's going to be in there. We're recording. And I think then someone came in to use, I think there was a pool table or something. And I think Zach was like, hey, we're recording a podcast. I think you could leave.
Did they leave?
Oh my god!
They did leave.
They were like, no, actually, I'm gonna stay here for the
Yeah, he's a good told us fuck off. Well, I remember the guy that used to live next to me would play a harmonica. I think he started doing it to be a dick.
Oh god!
And we would record, and I would try to knock on his door and be like, "Hey, can you not do that right now? We're recording something." I think he did to be a dick.
Oh my god!
He left a messy bathroom, I think. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, that was like the one time we interviewed Kent Williams, and it was I remember it being a fun interview. But yeah, it's with us now. We like doing the interviews, but we are at such like this is just our show now, where it's manga recap, piece together all this. It's hard to fit some stuff in. We usually save it for breaks and stuff. But I mean, thanks for putting the good word out. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Reverse. I met Patch, very clever, says, so my overboard paramilitary parachuters, now that Cyberpole and the Seraphim are being spewed all over the giant fleet by the big suckworm, time to speculate. Could this mean the incomparable Wanze is coming aboard? Or maybe everyone's favorite boxer from Karate Island, Jerry, will be going to Wano. Who better to teach yoga-style martial arts and ramen kenpo to than the Giants?
Well, you can keep Wanze. We'll have Jerry is fine with me. Jerry's cool.
I miss Jerry. I like Jerry.
Jerry's a race car driver. He drove so goddamn fast.
I'm struggling to understand the connection here. I might have missed something.
Because Cypherpole agents are being spewed, so maybe the two of them are in there as well. I think that's the.
Was that? That's right. Wanze was technically.
It's like a CP5 or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
okay,
He was CP8. I thought.
Okay.
Right.
I don't
CP7.
remember.
Oh, who cares?
Yeah. Maybe CP7. Oh. Okay. Fine. Be that way. Sailor Karna is Universal says, "Hey OPP, I just want to say, where the hell is Kuro? Oda is bringing everyone back, and if Kuro isn't seen, I will feel incomplete somehow." Lol.
Well, I'm sorry about that, but you may have to live with that one.
Yeah.
There could still be one more chapter. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I think we'll probably see him in the background at some point.
Yeah,
Freaking,
they brought Gaiman back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brought Dean back. I think that's the
Kuro catches the broadcast while he's finishing bussing tables.
This is the life he wanted. Like that's his.
Hey, Kuro, I'm not paying you to watch TV. Get back to work.
I just feel like this is really important, boss.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
know.
I think it'd be pretty funny if when the next time we do see Kuro like watching the stream, but he's like in his underwear, just like watching TV with like a beer on his belly, like this is his retirement.
I'm speaking of like characters. I'm curious to see if we'll ever see like Captain Morgan again. You know.
Oh yeah, it was like kind of a huge deal in the Kobe Meppo story that like he sailed away by himself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and him and Django like crossed paths very very briefly.
Yeah, that's actually the last. Yeah, that's the last.
That was the last time we saw him. Maybe he got eaten by a sea king or something.
It's better than he deserves. Some axe just washes up on a shore somewhere. Well, that's the end of him.
What a good
I
wrap
think
up.
that, I think what is it? It's during the Kobe Meppo story, right, where Helmeppo vows to arrest him or something like that.
Yes.
And Kobe has vowed to arrest Alvida, so maybe that'll happen one day. I don't know. These things are cyclical. It's like poetry.
Kobe's like, I was commanded by you to always tell you how beautiful you are, and Alvida's like, do you know how little that winds it down?
I made everyone.
He's like, well, if it makes you,
I guess
if it makes it feel any better.
If I guess Kobe's seen. I was going to say if Kobe's seen Alvida's wanted poster lately, would he even recognize her? Oh, it's those freckles. I recognize those. Yeah.
Like, oh, you're not
Kobe's
the most
like,
beautiful pirate on the seas. It's Luffy.
He's like, maybe I had a bad prescription back then. I don't know.
Professional Poyo says, howdy, 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 OPP. I can't believe that.
Give me that.
Can't believe that punk-ass kid tossed a rock at Yamato during Pride Month. We must immediately cancel this child by, I don't know, taking away his favorite toy rock or something. Jokes aside, I think it would be interesting to see how other less fortunate people or Wano treat Yamato on his journey for being Kaido's son. Good thing Yamato won't have to deal with father issues down the line. Foreshadowing is a narrative device.
Sorry, did the Pride Parade go through Old Springfield?
I'm gonna miss you, Pride Parade.
I think about that all the time. That's
You're gonna have to find your own way.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll. I don't know if Oda's going to go back to that well again and again of like, oh, everywhere Yamato goes, there's like people getting mad. I just feel like that would get old pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Yamato's going to do. He's going to do some good works, or I don't know, help the people of the countryside or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last disc piece for today, Hopkins Hat 15. Starts with their catchphrase, "Hey OPP, how it be?" and then goes on to say, "I remember reading in an SBS a long time ago that Oda wanted to make a mecha anime after One Piece was finished, and here we are with yet another giant fighting robot in One Piece. I think the Iron Giant fits with the story Oda is trying to tell, but do you ever get the feeling that some parts in One Piece's story were supposed to be in their own series?"
sometimes.
Maybe. Yeah.
Wano.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I think it's probably true that, well, I'm almost positive that there are definitely like ideas and story beats and things that he had thought, oh, this would be cool for, he initially would have said, oh, this isn't really One Piece, but someday when I do another series, I could do this. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up finding a way to adapt it. I'm sure that there was a point where he was like, you know what, I don't think I have another series in me, so like if I want to do this, I might as well just do it now. I think he's definitely had that happen before.
Funny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would think it'd be funny if he was just like trying out storylines of One Piece to like see the reaction, and like if it's a bad reaction, he's like, I'm not gonna make a story off of that. Okay, and then like something that gets good reception, he's like, all right, that'd be perfect for another series. Or something. That'd be funny.
Well, that's like, it's also the flexibility of the One Piece world. It can really sort of hold any kind of anything you want, really. As long as it holds to some like, larger overarching rules. But that is sort of the strength of the world of One Piece. You can kind of do anything with it. Was that it, Alex?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I mean, we have a few more minutes. Let's do some questions on Reddit. I have that open here.
Oh, you do have it open. Okay.
Yeah, I have it open. So, let's see here. The first one comes from Black Northwind, who says, hello, OPP. So I have a few thoughts that I want to get out of my system. It's likely that Bonnie will join with the Revolutionary Army like her father and mother. It seems to me that after seeing her father's memory and experiencing events in Egghead, she has more than one reason to fight against the world government. And second question, I get this distinct feeling that Imu was the one who betrayed Joy Boy and the Ancient Kingdom over some argument with each other, something akin to Luffy versus Usopp over the Going Merry. And perhaps Lily did help in the takedown of the Ancient Kingdom, but she most likely did regret her choice in doing so, and that is why she did not join in becoming a celestial dragon and did help in scattering poneglyphs around the world. Yeah, it's I don't know. I do think that the Bonnie going, I don't know. I don't like the Bonnie going necessarily with the revolutionaries. I like the idea I had the other week about having a family life with Kuma, like getting to do what was taken from them the last time. I like that more than joining the revolutionary. But yeah, Anyone have thoughts on either of those?
Yeah, I think
Steven, sorry, I was just go ahead. I was going to say it sounds like you have something to say.
Yeah. I was trying to think. I mean, I guess she doesn't really have. She doesn't have the drive to join the revolution. I mean, I feel like you need to have like a certain maybe this is it. Maybe all of this experience will help her realize like who is really responsible for what happened to her family, and therefore the Revolutionary Army being the one fighting force that is like directly in opposition to the world government. Maybe that's maybe that sends her down that path, and obviously yes, the family connections with them both being from the revolutionaries is an obvious connection. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking of the Bonnie that we met at the start of Egghead. It didn't seem like she really had any reason to be aligned with the revolutionaries. So, I don't know. I'm like, what is the state of Kuma right now? Like, is he even able to do the family thing?
Right.
Like he's pretty much dying? Is he dying? Is he just robotic? But yeah.
All right, next one comes from Amiibo Hunter 000. Says, "Hey OPP, looks like Marcus Mars is blasting off again." It's clear pretty much every giant recognizes Luffy as Nika. How important do you think Nika is to the giant culture? Do you think this lends weight to the theory that Joy Boy, or a previous user of the Nika fruit, was a giant? Keep up the great job. Love the podcast. Well, I think the giant straw hat in the freezer is the biggest indication of that. And like the fact that like the Drums of Liberation and the Nika story, like Nika is like a name that I think that comes from like the Elbaf legend, I think. Or if I'm making that up. Hopefully.
I don't know if it comes from it, but it's definitely part of it. It is a little confusing. I know that some people have had criticism about this because we are introduced to the concept of Nika as like a liberatory figure from it was Who's Who, right? In Wano, he was the one who first talked about it. Mm-hmm. That it was like the prisoner. You know, they would talk about it among the prisoners or the slaves or something like that. And so that like how that gets there from the giants or to the giants or whatever. That's the part where I'm not really clear what the connection is supposed to be. And it does kind of feel a little bit like maybe Oda just decided, you know what, why don't the giants have this, tradition, because that'll make the storytelling easier, rather than being like an actual natural evolution of the backstory or something. So I'm still not sure how to feel about that, but he's definitely leaning very hard on it with the giants' reaction.
So my fault. I looked it up on Wiki because I also was like, yeah, that's a great question. It just says that the giants are also aware of the legend as the entity is revered as a sun god in Elbaf. So that's all it really says, and nothing else about that.
It doesn't really come from Elbaf, but it is known.
It's just
Elbaf.
known. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's taken from like a line that Dorian Berge say in this past arc. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that he could, elaborate on that a lot when we get to Elbaf or something.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one comes from Miserable Tip 536, who says, "I was surprised to hear the idea that Luffy caused Bonnie's Nika transformation last week. I think this chapter reinforces the idea that it was her own power. She did already transform into Nika twice before for that large punch, but now that Luffy has shown her how Nika really looks, she is now able to get the appearance right too. So she's not copying the power, just becoming her idea of what the entity of Nika is."
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right.
Yeah, I mean, it was less clear last week. I think we were speculating that Luffy might have this power to turn sort of everybody into the Nika.
His awakening.
His awakening. Right.
That was my original theory when first saw it, and he was like, "This is my peak," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I wonder if Luffy's dream is so everyone can reach their peak. So there's something where everyone can get this. Oh my god, there's multiple gum fruits involved." I was on a spiral. And then I saw, it's just based off of her power. I was like, I guess, okay, that's fine. So yeah, no, I totally can see that perspective. Makes sense. But I guess not, maybe. I don't know.
All right. Next one comes from Slades of Glory. 2 things. 1, is anyone else kind of disappointed Luffy doesn't wear his hat in Gear 5? Don't think we've ever seen him with it on, and instead only see his Super Saiyan hair. Odd given how iconic that hat is. 2, what are the chances Mars lands on the moon? Easy way to shift the focus back there if that is indeed where the story is heading.
Oh, man.
Pow! Zoom! Straight to the moon.
Devil Bird versus Lightning God.
One of these days, Marcus.
All right.
But who's to say, when Gear 5th Luffy finally puts the hat on, maybe that's supposed to be an iconic moment where, behold, Joy Boy. Who knows? Might be deliberate.
Yeah. Well, given how iconic the hat is, especially Emu knows exactly what it means.
Yeah.
So maybe he'll put the hat on when he confronts him or something. All right. Kid Media says, with the Elbaf arc approaching, which foreshadowed character or island lived up to your expectations? Well, I think my answer to this is is Frankie. Like there was like, I mean, before we actually like joined the crew and joined up with everybody, he was, you know, given this sort of legendary sort of introduction as being this sort of ruffian, this character of Water 7. But then when we actually got to know him and he joined the crew, he was like the coolest guy ever. And I actually noticed something about Frankie and watching the anime this week, where I think it's in the ending song, but like he's naked in the ending song. He's covered by like a starburst because it's like Luffy begging him to come on, getting him to come on the ship, but like yeah, he's standing there naked. Yeah, Frankie might be it for me.
Gosh, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, in terms of island, like I think Wano was pretty spectacular. I mean, just the amount of stuff that happened in Wano alone was, you know, unfathomable. It was just, there was so much that happens in that arc. It was everything and more. And that was, that certainly was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say Vegapunk.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. He's been great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Vegapunk has been, I think that's good. Water 7. Which one did you say, Steven?
Wano,
yeah. I guess, since I've been week to week, I was going to say Skypiea has a really great, like, lead up to it. But since I was week to week, probably, God, does Laboon count at all? Like, does that whole thing with Brook count?
I mean,
Like him being connected to Laboon, you mean?
Yeah. Do you think that counts as foreshadowing? Because that's like one of my favorite things in the whole series.
I mean, it's
Like,
like, if it lived up to your expectations, and so I'm thinking of stuff that like we found out about, and then you finally see it, however many years later or something.
All right, yeah. I'm
so
doing
like,
this wrong.
so like the anti-Fishman Island, basically, where it was like, oh, we heard about it for years and years.
No, that's exactly what I'm trying to think of right now, because I'm like, I might have to just steal one of yours because, I think Wano definitely lived up to it for me. Same with Vegapunk. Vegapunk is probably the biggest offender at this point, just because it's been, you know, we've heard about last time we got his name, I think, end of Water 7, and that's like 20 years
long.
almost.
Yeah.
Vegapunk's my answer.
All right. And the last one here comes from Lanky Cheetah 6315, who says, "Hey OPP, when Saint Alaskan Bullworm spits out the soldiers and Cypherpole agents, I initially thought he was saving them and putting them on the ship. Upon reread, however, I believe I was naive, and he's using them like a sort of raining cats and dogs attack. Any input?" I think he just had to like expel what was inside of him in order to like try and suck the ship back.
Suction, yeah. That could be right. That is another thing that like maybe if you had more pages, it would have made more sense, because when it starts happening and like the guys are falling, and then you just see him in the background like with his mouth open like blah. It's just sort of like, why? Like there's really no explanation for why he's doing it. So I guess maybe he's just making room to suck again.
And all right, anyone else? I guess there is one more question here. P.S. Who do you think had the best reaction face this chapter? I am torn between Luffy excited about Emet or big news shocked the Punk cast was back online. I think it was this. There was a Bonnie one that I really liked where she's like, "What's wrong with you people?"
Yeah, I like
That's
that
my
one.
favorite one.
That was funny.
Yeah,
I like the Giants' buggy eyes.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
Steve, anything? Favorite reaction?
I couldn't. You guys took all the good ones. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Okay.
Kaku.
Back to page. Mr. Quiverlip over here.
Oh, that's true. He almost has Luke's beaver face from Empire Strikes Back.
Beaver face?
Yeah, when he's like, "That's not true. That's impossible." Yeah, he has like a little beaver lip. Like, well, I call it the beaver face because he looks like he has buck teeth.
Ah. All right. Well, that's it for Piece Together this week. yeah. Thanks for your questions, everybody, and let's move on to the next segment. This has been episode 824 of the One Piece podcast for the week of Monday, July 1st, 2024. And first, I would like to thank our special guest for coming on this week. Steven, thank you for coming on this week.
It was good to be here.
Yes. And where can the good people out there find you?
You can follow me on Blue Sky at stephenpaul.bsky.social, where I am continuing my 3-chapter-a-day reread of the One Piece manga. I am just getting to the end of Impel Down now. So yeah, almost to that halfway point. And so yeah, you can see my idle thoughts on that. And beyond that, just keep reading One Piece and Akane Banashi and Shoten on the Shonen Jump or Manga Plus apps.
Fantastic. And Krystal, thank you for coming on as well. Where can people find you online? Where can people find your podcast?
Yeah. You can find me online anywhere at Krystal Shanelle, Shanelle. There's 2 E's, and my name is with a K. My podcast, you can find it on almost everywhere except for Tidal, Between the Storylines. Anywhere you can listen to a podcast besides Tidal. And yeah, everybody go read One Piece. It's really good.
If you haven't already.
Yeah, if you haven't already. I mean, I'm assuming if you're here, you might have, but just in case.
And Steven, it looks like the manga is off this coming week. Next chapter in 2 weeks.
That's right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Will there be an SGS next week?
Yeah, Greg gave the go ahead, so he should be ready. So I will assume that we will have an SGS episode for you next week, which of course is where my good friend Greg and I go over the latest stuff and answer questions on our own when the manga is off. So look forward to that next week.
All right. And in 2 weeks, we'll have a manga recap of chapter 1120. So, where can all the good people find you guys, Alex and Steve? Alex, where can people find you?
Find me on Twitter and Blue Sky, I guess, at dude exclamation, all one word. Weeb Simpsons, check that out. Super Art Fight. I'm going to be doing Super Art Fight at Otakon this year, the weekend of August 2nd through the 4th. So come and check that out. It's going to be 2 shows, one regular, one Unleashed. That's the 18-plus show. So if you want to see me draw some NSFW stuff live, then that's your chance to do it. And other stuff too. Come to the regular vanilla show. It's
seriously, those are Super Art Fight's a good time. Everyone should go see it. It's a lot of fun.
And in about 13 days, I'll be at the One Piece concert in DC.
Yep, me too.
And Ed, I believe you'll be there too.
Yes, I will.
And some other friends.
And Steve, where can people find you? Where can they find your podcasts? Where at the Anime Expo Artist Alley will you be?
All right, SteveYurko.com. All social media at Steve Yurko. Listen to 4Kids Flashback. And that's wherever you get your podcasts. Watch ProZD Plays Games over on YouTube. And for Anime Expo, I'll be in the Artist Alley all weekend at table I-14. Vero will be there with me too. I don't know if I said Vero or Veryl. I'm just going to once again be clear that Vero will be there, not the character from Gurren Lagann, maybe.
I thought Beryl was from Sailor Moon.
Beryl. Well, that's Queen Beryl. Okay. I think Beryl is the guy. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's been a while. Yeah, but I'll be there. I got a bunch of new stuff that I really got to start promoting. If you ask me if I'm ready for Anime Expo, just got to put my shoes on.
All right. And the podcast can be found at the new and improved OnePiecePodcast.com with editorials, again, from Kirsten Carey, also our musician. And you can find us, our next live show at the City Winery in New York City will be on August 25th. Tickets at citywinerynyc.com. Let's see, OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address, youtube.com/OnePiecePodcast, patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. You can get ad-free versions of the podcast as well as our previous Patreon exclusive podcast, Forced to Watch 4Kids. And let's see, you can subscribe on SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, or call us on our phone number. That's 347-497-MAJI.
Maji.
347-497-6254. Call anytime. Yeah. And yeah, that's it for the One Piece podcast this week. As I said, we'll be back next week with an SGS, and in 2 weeks with a manga recap for chapter 1120. But yeah, so for the One Piece podcast, my name is Ed.
My name is Steve.
And my name is Alex.
And we'll see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Adios.